What in the absolute hell was that?
When you take into consideration all the ways that could have gone, not bad. Not that bad for old Uncle Nick.
My personal favorite is that the G in golden is covered, so it's just the olden ticket that he takes.
You know, we just selectively choose to see the things that they do in these intros for us.
Yeah, that one was just for me from Cameron. You know?
Everybody, welcome to KindaFunny's Wonka in Review. Somehow we have done enough in review series that we're now here. Willy Wonka.
Here we are, everybody.
I never thought we would be here. I'm so happy that we are, though. Going back to a classic. It's very rare. We've done Jurassic Park. We've done Back to the Future. We've done Star Wars. And now here we are doing Willy Wonka. I kind of love it. It feels very, very, very sentimental to my childhood. Going back, watching a movie I haven't seen since I was probably like 6. Like, I have not seen this
really
in a long time. Yeah, I've seen the Family Guys. I've seen all the Futurama episodes about this stuff. But very excited to watch this for the first time in a long time. And also shout out to Cameron Kennedy and Carter Harrell for, I know I say this all the time, and I'm always like, oh, it's my favorite one yet. Something about this one though, like Carter Harrell.
I mean, there was a story here.
Created the most beautiful version of the KindaFunny theme I've ever heard. Like, that is magical. And then I sent it to Cameron, and he sent me back that video.
And audio listeners, we need you to really just check out that.
Yeah,
YouTube.
we can't even describe it.
Yeah, you just got to go watch it. It's one of the rare times, not the first time, but one of the rare times that I was like, I don't want the people on the show to watch this intro until we do it live.
This might be the first one that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, you tried. And I was like,
I
no,
tried
Joey.
so many times.
Joey got upset. She was like, show me the fucking video.
Well,
like,
because then you were showing Roger, you were showing Barrett, and I was like, this is mean. I sit right next to you.
I love it, though.
It was worth it.
It was so worth it. That was absolutely incredible. Nick, how do you feel about it, though?
I have to say that I feel quite good about it.
Oh.
Because out of the intros that really stung, I would say Jurassic Park, number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was inspired.
That was
back
tough.
and the thing.
The Avatar one was art.
The Avatar one was my favorite. It was special.
I would say
what did we do
haunting.
last week with me in the face? There was something my face was in something. What was last week's series?
Your face is
You were
always
Jigsaw?
MCU.
Oh, it was Jigsaw.
Oh, Saw. Yeah.
Me as the puppet. That was probably one of the most off-putting. But this one, not too bad. Not bad for me.
I do imagine you as old Grandpa Joe trying to get out of the bed. I imagine it being you crawling on all fours backwards when you hurt your back and you couldn't turn in the hallway at the old studio. So you were slowly crawling backwards and we're like, are you good? You're like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. And you were walking back to your desk. I was like, this is bad. Like, Nick can't walk right now.
Do you remember when he started using the chair? Wasn't he using a stool to like roll over?
Yeah, that was good stuff.
God, that's one of my favorite memories.
I just know that if I'm by myself in a strange place, I can get up.
Yeah.
If I had to, I
It's
can get
important.
up.
It's important. That might come back at some point in review. I'm not sure. I don't know. We're going on a journey here, everybody. Walk in review, a rare one for us, because like we're about to do, just so everyone knows, this week is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right.
Yeah.
Next week we're doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, a movie I've never seen. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay, wow. Okay, I'm the only virgin here to the Johnny Depp version of this, so we'll see what that is.
It is.
Then we are taking a break. I forget exactly why, but there's something happening, and then we're coming back to end the year with Wonka in review. The Timothy Chalamet. Timotei? Did we ever get
It's Timothy.
It's Timothy. Okay, Timothy Chalamet.
I don't know where the Timotei came from. But I think we
It was you.
Then
That's where I first heard it.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from.
Whatever. It's happening, and we're about to do that to end the year out. We'll be back next year with a bunch of MCU stuff. Echo and
Aquaman 2.
Aquaman. To what's it called? The Depths, the Trenches, Lost Kingdom. That's what it is.
That's the one.
The Lost Kingdom, and also
Kingdom,
What
Jurassic
If
Park.
season 2.
That's right.
That's what we're-
I'm excited for that.
We're doing all of that, but This year, we're riding out with Wonka, baby. Of course, you can get it on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com as a video. If you want the podcast, search for Kinda Funny in Review, and we will be right there for you. If you wanted to go above and beyond, patreon.com/kindafunny is where you want to be. Just like Nathan Lamoth, James Hastings, and Casey Andrew. They get the show ad-free. They get a whole bunch of bonus content. They get to watch it live as we record it. Thank you all so very, very much. Today, we're brought to you by Shady Rays, but I'll tell you about that later. Because we're talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. One of the first movies I ever remember watching as a kid.
Right?
Oh.
Is that true for everyone
100%.
here?
Yeah, I mean, if it's from 1971, I feel like it must have been one of the few one of those first ones that you experienced on television, and depending on the year and depending on the age you were, may have started some lifetime traumas for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It was like this and Pee-wee's Big Adventure that were always on TV, and both of those movies were 100% not made for children.
I was telling Nick that Willy Wonka and stuff like Beauty and the Beast and all those shows that I did in high school theater, I felt like I know front to back. But there are so many... There's a lot of songs in this one that I don't fully remember because I knew the theater version. Like, we never sang Cheer Up Charlie in the theater song. I was made Slugworth. I was the bad guy Slugworth.
You get a cool scar.
No, I didn't. Well, yeah, I think I may have painted in the scar, but they also made me more like a Disney villain. I'm yelling at the kids. And I'm like, where are the Wonka bars at?
Just imagine by like week 1, it's one scar. Week 4, you're just camo with the scar there. Yeah. Like, Andy, stop with the scars.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things about this movie that I had completely forgotten were in the movie, even though last night I was like, I still got to watch the Willy Wonka movie. And our friend Chris Anka was like, you could probably just walk in there and fake it. And I was like, I probably could, Chris. I've seen it so many times. Totally a lie. Like, watching it last time, I was like, oh my God, there are a lot of renditions in here and moments that I do not remember.
So much so that I was like, oh, I got this movie. I've seen it so many times, at least 100 times.
Really?
Because like it's literally one of the first movies, like this in Star Wars, like as a kid, like
That's so interesting.
and Beauty and the Beast and Lion King and Aladdin, like those 5 are probably my those were my first movies I remember watching. And when it started, Gio was like, yeah, it's a musical. I'm like, it's not a musical. It has like 2 songs.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's a musical. And I'm like, there's the Oompa Loompa song and there's Pure Imagination, but that's it, right? And then I'm like, oh no, Candyman can, and the Poor Charlie shit. And like,
Charlie.
I was like, oh, there's a lot of songs in this that I just did not remember.
Well, we talked about this earlier this week too, where I was like, the Wonka movie is a musical, and that's weird, and I can't believe they're not talking about it, completely forgetting that this music was a music. So as we were watching, I was like, music.
That's so funny, Joey, because she was like, oh, Wonka is a musical. I'm like, the trailers didn't look that way. And even after having that conversation, I still was talking to Gio like, oh, the first one's not a musical.
Same. I was just telling Joey because I'd seen a TikTok recently, some guy saying, there's a lot of things about upcoming movies people aren't telling you. Like, for example... the Timothy Chalamet movie is a musical. The Color Purple upcoming remake is a musical. So is I'm forgetting the other movie. And so I was like, wow, they're making this movie a musical. What an interesting take on Willy Wonka. Immediately right off the bat, like, this is a musical. How did I forget this shit?
Nick, do you remember that?
Yeah. This movie being a musical?
Yeah.
Yes, because I love Pure Imagination. I love that scene.
And those are maybe the only 2 songs I could think of.
That's why I think you forget it's a musical, because it's not a great musical. It's a great movie. It's got great music in it, but as a musical, it is not one of my favorite musicals.
It's got 3 top bangers.
3
and the rest
bangers.
Of them.
I mean, I would say 2, right? Pure Imagination and Golden Ticket. And like beyond that, Candyman, whatever. Sammy Davis Jr. did it better.
Well, yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. did it better.
Oh, okay.
And then
Veruca Salt
the
song.
Oompa Loompa song, man.
But I can't sing it right now. What's Veruca Salt song?
Oompa Loompa song?
No, Oompa Loompa song rocks.
The Veruca Salt song is
sing it.
I want
the world, I want the whole world. Give it to me.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll count that as a half
Feels
song.
very newsy.
So 2.5 songs, right? But when you compare that to like Lion King, when you think of musical, that's like every single song in Lion King is great in its own class.
Plot point.
Whereas
I'll argue the Oompa Loompa song coming back time after time to like
little renditions.
But the Oompa Loompa song is like a really bad joke. Where at the first time you're like, that's funny. Then the second time you're like, okay, we're doing this again. Then by the third time you're like, I'm starting to come around. And then by the last time you're like, I get it now.
And dude, honestly, watching this movie, hearing the song of the Oompa Loompa shit with all the different fonts coming up and the way the screen moves and all that,
I always
like,
loved that when I was a
this
kid.
is why I am the way I am. Like, Willy Wonka did it to me.
You're Mike TV.
I am Mike TV.
When you start looking at it, you're like, oh, they didn't really have too much of a story in this movie.
No.
Because like, let's. I think it was like 56 minutes into the movie is when we get into the chocolate factory.
Let me get through the facts and then we'll get into our thoughts because lots to talk about with this one. Released on June 30th, 1971, 18 years to the day until I was born.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yes.
Your pre-birthday.
Exactly. In 2014, the film was selected for preservation by the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
That totally checks
I
out.
thought you were going to
really
say culturally inappropriate. Like when I hear the word culturally, I just expect that to be the next word.
I feel like this is up there with like The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but also like we've talked about this as a fact on multiple interviews, but it's usually a Back to the Future or something, a Star Wars, something like that. So like Willy Wonka totally deserves that for sure, I would say. A runtime of an hour and 40 minutes, directed by Mel Stewart, who honestly didn't do too much. It's kind of interesting.
Is that the case for like most of the cast other than Gene Wilder?
I think the grandpa had done some other things too. Grandpa Joe, I think he was kind of a notable name, but everyone else, I don't really. I thought for a second the teacher, I was like, oh, I've seen that guy before. But then I was like, no, I thought he was one of the Pythons, but he's not. He's just, Gene Wilder is to this day, the only person I really, really recognize as being like, he was a huge star. He was a big star, you know.
Impressive for this movie having such like a big cast of characters.
But I think 1971, it's important to think about that, right? Like this is probably one of the first things that we would consider blockbusters, right? Like name a movie before 1971 that
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Right?
Jaws was later.
It was later even.
Yeah,
like
Jaws was like late 70s.
This is an early movie for being as like franchisable, even if it wasn't a franchise as it was. You know what I mean?
If I'm wrong, it didn't do well in theaters.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, which surprised the hell out of me. But directed by Mel Stewart, who directed Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and If It's Tuesday, This Must Be Belgium. One is A Lonely Number, and Running on the Sun, The Badwater, 135.
Classics. All of them.
I feel
I'm shocked you don't know those last three.
One of those movies Anthony Carboni has on Laserdisc. You know what I mean?
What? You don't know the Running of Pelham 125?
That released in 2000. So yeah, that adds up.
Fair enough.
The screenplay was by Roald Dahl, who wrote the book and a bunch of other children's books. And apparently he disowned the film and was infuriated by the plot deviations and considered the music to be saccharine.
Saccharine. Yeah.
Too sweet.
Saccharine, sappy, and sentimental. He was also disappointed because the film placed too much emphasis on Willy Wonka and not enough on Charlie, because the book originally, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And he didn't like Gene Wilder cast as Wonka. He wanted Spike Milligan.
Never heard of him either.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Go to hell, Roald Dahl. Let's be real. Like, it's no longer your creation anymore. It's now Gene Wilder's vehicle, okay?
Yeah.
Back the hell off, Roald Dahl.
No future spoilers.
Get over
obviously.
yourself.
Have you guys,
what else have you made?
Sorry, have you seen the Johnny Depp version? Okay. So I think that one is more faithful to the source material, and so it'll be interesting to compare and contrast. But I can understand that if I've never read the book personally, I've always wanted to, and I've always wanted to read The Glass Elevator, which I think is the sequel to it. Never got around to it because again, I don't read books. But
I will say,
hurdle number one.
As somebody who read those books as a kid, I had a lot of similar vibes reading Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone when that first came out, because it very similarly kind of like, there's not really plot points I'm necessarily like getting pulled towards. I'm getting pulled towards
the world,
snozberries and flirkins or whatever. Not flirkins, but when he's talking the vernicious canids, like all those things were such weird little things that I couldn't even imagine somebody would come up with. And I was like, this shit's really creative and wild. And I had the same vibes reading Harry Potter later on, where it's like in book one, what happens in book one? I don't know. Stuff
Well,
happens. Somebody head on the back of somebody.
You've got
but I'm thinking
When
of,
I
but
make my move.
But I'm thinking of all the candies that she would come up with and all these weird things. Yeah, all that stuff. It was very imaginative. Yeah.
Well, that's I mean, and to me, that's why I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It was probably the first movie that put me in that place mentally as a kid, where the same feeling you get when you realize, oh, someone's built a world that if it were real, I would freaking die to go to. Even as an adult, I watch this movie and I go, I would love to go through that gate and just see all the crazy stuff. Even though like you watch it as an adult now, you're like, it's a little twisted and there is a case to be made for this is child abuse, but at the same time, it's so imaginative and so inventive and so wacky that you're just drawn into it, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with Gene Wilder's performance and the production design of this movie, which is just a number one. Like every single thing that's in this movie. And granted, it was 1971, so when they poke a hole in the little mushroom top, you can see the metal thing that holds the stick in it. You know, the bears, all that stuff is obviously clearly plastic. But aside from that, the imagination that went into this movie. I mean, even the end where this office, where it's like it's not just a normal office; it's an office where half everything's
half. Like
why? Never explained. Who gives a shit?
It's amazing,
right?
though. Yeah,
all that stuff when I was a kid really, really, really drew me in. And we talk about this. Sorry to go off on a tangent. But we talk about this all the time. You've heard me and Greg talk about like how they don't make kids movies the way they used to. Well, this is a kids movie, and it's dangerous and it's scary, and there's an air of like, hey, this might not be really for kids involved in it, but there's something exciting about that. And when I was a kid, I was like, I'm scared of the tunnel scene, right? I'm scared of what happens to these kids afterward. But I'm like, to quote Owen Wilson from Armageddon, I'm like 49% scared, 51% excited by what's going on. And I think to me that was the hallmark.
I'm with you.
We'll get around to the disaster cast.
I just watched this not that long ago. To go off of that, it's I feel like we have things like Return to Oz, which was like the even scarier version.
That was too scary. That was like 70-30.
But we Never-Ending Story, all of these kinds of
remember the lasers? He just nukes the night and you're like, is he dead? Remember they trying to go through the arches in Never-Ending Story and it's like
I always remember it might be from the second Never-Ending Story where they're just like in a lake of acid and he like burns his feathers, whatever. But I think that there's something so fun about movies like this.
Shit.
There he is.
Well, that wasn't him at all.
What?
I just don't remember this.
Looking good for him, man. That's awesome.
I'm getting rocks.
Just killing it. But there's something so fun about these movies, and I think maybe I can't speak to the other ones, but for this one in particular, we're watching it as an adult for the first time. Maybe not since then, but like definitely in the last 10 years, I haven't watched it. All of the little interactions between Willy Wonka and the adult, like the little quips back and forth that are just one-liners that never really get responses, and you're just like, oh, I did definitely miss that as a kid.
When he leans over to I think it's Veruca's dad, and he's like, candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. And then just walks away. And you're like, what does that mean?
What are you doing, Wonka?
What are you talking about?
We are the music makers and the dreamers of dreams.
We are the dreamers of dreams. No,
yes,
he doesn't just do that. I have it. That's my favorite quote, and that's going to be the quote that starts us off.
Yeah.
She licks the wall, and she goes, Snosberry? Who's ever heard of a Snosberry? And he grabs her fucking face.
Yeah.
And he goes, he said, we are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams. And then he just walks away. And you're
it's so good. So the last thing I have here about the Roald Dahl thing is he was quoted saying, they always want to change a book's storyline. What makes Hollywood think children want the endings changed for a film when they accept it in a book?
It's very true.
Fair.
It's interesting.
It's very, very true. And I can't comment because I haven't read the book. But like, I think that's one of the reasons why the Harry Potter series did so well. Because they were pretty, with the exception of some of the longer books, they were pretty faithful to the book's endings and all the important beats landing in the films, which I think is why that franchise endured up until, you know, the newer stuff that didn't have books to back them up. Yeah. But again, I don't know. Does anyone know how the book ends?
It's been so long.
That's just like, that seems like such a weird statement by somebody who like wasn't really
did the screenplay,
but also
he got. I mean, I think they got
noted.
But also, like it'd be understandable for Roald Dahl to say that today in the year 2023.
Yeah,
look, where a lot of movies have been made about books, but at 71, like I'm just thinking like I'm
many
thinking
adaptations were
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm kind of like.
Well, there were probably a lot actually, because even in the 70s, like The Godfather was a book, for instance. There was a lot of books to screenplay
Interesting, I didn't know that.
adaptations. Yeah, Mario Puzo wrote that. If you ever want to watch The Offer, it's on Paramount Plus. It's a
real
freaking
good.
phenomenal series about how they made that happen. It was bonkers. It had a lot to do with the mob. But you know, it's the age old story. Alan Moore hated the Watchmen movie when it came out. He was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. They always do, because ultimately you change anything from a writer's story and it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Because their story is perfect. They put the book out. That's how they see it, you know?
I want to ask you guys, Roald Dahl. We all know him. We all know the name. But can anyone spell it?
yeah.
Ooh.
Go for it, Andy.
Roald. Last name is Dalh. No, Dahl.
Damn.
Got it?
Yeah.
I'm a speller. People are like, do not ever doubt me in a spelling contest.
I would have doubted you, bro. I would have
Yeah.
put mine. I
The
would
only
have put
times I
dollars to
will make
donuts
mistakes
against
is
you.
when it's dyslexia and I'm like just thinking of the wrong thing or whatever.
Sure.
I'm
Would-
insane. It's
Roll. Would you got a D in roll?
If you had asked me yesterday without, because I looked at the Wikipedia a lot on this,
Yeah.
then I would have not have gotten it.
Yeah. What about you? Would you just
that,
known?
that was always just me like being fascinated by weird names that weren't Jose and Mario growing up and being
Yeah.
like Rolled. What a weird ass name.
I also had absolutely no idea what his background was, like where he was from.
No idea.
No idea. He was
Yeah.
British, but I had no idea.
Oh, he is?
British. Yeah. I looked him up. I was like, huh. I would not have thought that. For whatever reason, I was like, I had no perception of who Roald Dahl was going into this, and having him just be like a prim and proper Brit, I was like, that makes sense, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
Which is
The
funny
music-
because, sorry,
Go for it.
the other thing that I never noticed until watching this is where is this movie set?
Oh yeah. No, that's an interesting question.
There are
right?
British people
British
everywhere.
people. Charlie does. I was like,
the transatlantic accent is everywhere.
I brought Danielle in. I was like, is Charlie's family American? She goes, yeah. And I was like, I thought they were British. She goes, no. I was like, wait a minute. That's not. I'm like, where? This was filmed in Germany, which is strange as shit.
It is weird, right?
But it's great because it has a otherworldly quality.
Yeah.
It's so many mixtures of so many things that you just feel like this doesn't exist in reality.
But it also feels like it is our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that weird combo because like they do the news stuff and you're like going, it's worldwide and they're doing the search and it feels like it's our world, but it also feels like it's different. Like it's a fantasy,
Well, in the
but
time
based in
zone
reality.
or the time period where like the candy shop and all that stuff feels very like 1940s.
Yeah.
But the news stuff feels 60s, 70s, and you're just like, what nebulous place and time does this exist?
Remember, I don't know if you guys had this problem when you were growing up, but did you? Like
Puberty?
I thought Happy Days was a show from the
Yep.
40s.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah.
and my mom was like, no, it was made in like 75. I was like, what are you talking about? Laverne and Shirley is like from that era, right? I'm like, no, this was made like, it's a period piece. And I'm like, I have
What does
no
that
concept
mean?
of what that
Yeah.
means.
I remember one of my first memories ever, Nick, was looking at old photos of my parents, or like grandparents, and being like, "It's crazy that like things are in full life color right now, but back then they were like kind of like black and white, like not full of color."
Yeah.
That's
And they're
just
like-
those are just photos.
Yeah.
Like that's. I just thought that as a kid though, but yeah, no, I know what you mean.
They
Like
they discovered the color
developed
red.
color.
Yeah, I just
until
felt like as life like evolved, like we got more color in the world.
But you feel like,
Pleasantville.
I'm
Wizard of
trying to
Oz.
think if there's another shoot. Sex Education is a show that does this. They have elements of different things in the world to throw you off so that your brain never goes, this is rooted in the now. So the production design of it, like the cars, the houses, the clothing, a lot of it is from other eras, but then they do have like cell phones. And I think they do that on purpose because they're like, we don't want you to focus on like when this is rooted so much as like what we're talking about in the subject matter, because that should be theoretically like, ever present.
This can be a timeless story.
Yeah,
But-
timeless.
Does having elements from everything ultimately become a distraction?
Having
Because your brain is like, why is the phone there with me? Like,
no. I mean, it's modern day.
yeah.
But it's not a modern day story. It's I think they wanted it to have more of a fable like quality to it, which is what Willy Wonka has in it, right?
Yeah.
You see cars, but then you see steamboats, and then you see like Wonka stuff is like not steampunk, but like I don't know what the term was.
Semi.
Kevin,
Yeah.
Kevin,
I was gonna say, Joe, watch your mic on that.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, but they wanted that, right? They wanted. But, I mean, again, I don't know what 1971 Germany looks like. Actually, I think I do. It's exactly like this. That's what it looked like, right? But even Charlie's clothes, like his clothes, the design of the interior of his house, kind of reads earlier. It reads like turn of the century.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was London, which is not. I mean, I don't think they.
I thought so, too.
define it, right?
yeah, running
Yeah.
around the streets.
Yeah.
reminded
The
me of that.
cobblestone
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
But then it's weird because like the newspaper guy has an American accent.
Yeah,
He's not British.
There are several. We have a transatlantic accent here, and then the teacher is just full on British.
Super British. And then the kid that interrupts class, he's like, chicka. He just pops open the door. He's like, I'm going to say 5 minutes of exposition right now. What's going on? And like, everyone freaks out. That kid, I think, has the transatlantic accent as well.
So budget. With a budget of $3 million in 1971, the film received generally positive reviews from critics, but only earned $4 million by the end of its original run.
Tough.
Isn't that wild to think about? Like, that's the power of home video, right? Like, this movie is generational. Like, I feel like there's, I mean, am I wrong? Like, no. I do not know, but are kids today still watching this? Like, maybe not. I don't know.
I do think that the concept of Willy Wonka, Charlie, and the Chocolate Factory are way more ever present in
everlasting.
Everlasting. In younger kids' minds than if you were to ask them about other IP.
Yeah.
Like, this seems like one of those that does transcend because of actual candies that people see in real life or references in pop culture. Like, this is one of those along, this is obviously a different era, but along there with the Terminators and the RoboCops and things like that.
I mean, yeah, definitely, right? Like, you have to put it in terms of like 71, right? This movie didn't get popular till what, 80, 84, 5?
I don't know. I mean, what, like,
I mean, it would have been
from your perspective, like, what did it look like? Because you were born in 80, right?
So I was born in 80, right? So TV was when I remember seeing this. This was on a Sunday or something like that. I never rented this movie because I think it was a little too old. And if something was on TV, Elena Scarpino was not paying to rent that movie.
I mean, were you renting movies in the early 80s?
No, because I don't think movie rentals, VHS and beta didn't become widely available until, maybe look that up for me, but I want to say like mid 80s is really when I remember the video stores like kind of popping into existence. Because there was the war of Betamax and VHS, and then I think
did you have Betamax at home?
We didn't have Betamax. I had an uncle that had Betamax, I think, and it was literally like DVD versus or Blu-ray versus HD DVD. But like it was a battle of media, and then but I think and I'm not kidding when I say this, I think porn was what actually drove VHS, which was the inferior media.
Pam and Tommy stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that might have been part of it, but a lot of it was just like whoever adopts whatever the porn industry adopted, I think everyone followed suit. But yeah, I don't ever remember renting this movie. I don't remember owning this movie, but I've seen this movie 1,000 times. This is one of those that was just like probably very inexpensive because I think Warner ended up buying it, if I'm not mistaken, from whatever the old studio was. And they were like, let's just put this out there as much as humanly possible. But this was like, it's crazy to think that a lot of my favorite movies when I was a kid, you go back and look at, and they did not do well in theaters. Like another movie I always come back to is Big Trouble in Little China. It tanked in theaters. Nobody understood what that movie was.
That's a kids movie?
No, it's not a kids movie, but I watched it a lot. Well, actually, it's PG. I think it's PG-13. It's like a action adventure movie. But that's one of those movies that you go back and watch. You're like, yeah, you watch the trailer for it. They had no idea what they had. But because of TV and because of home video, it got that cult classic following like Willy Wonka did. And now 20, 30 years later,
TBS and TNT.
It's
just weird because like I wouldn't think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a cult classic. I would think of it as a classic.
Yeah. Betamax became the most popular format until it was surpassed in VHS 1977.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Google the rise of the video store. Like when did video stores really start popping off?
Also, I asked Roger if he grew up watching this movie, and he said no. He grew up watching the Johnny Depp movie.
Which, even to Andy's point, though, like the story of Willy Wonka,
being aware of the IP,
which is pretty wild. But yeah, this movie in particular, it is funny that like all of us feel so connected to it, even though it's like 1971. Like that is a different time. But like I was shocked. I would have sworn, like, when would you think this movie was made?
I would have assumed way late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, mainly probably like early 80s. Yeah,
me too. Said late 70s. I think 77 in my brain is what I was.
Somewhere, 77 to 82 is what I would have thought. 100%. So
okay, by mid 1985, the United States had 15,000 video rental stores, and many record, grocery, and drug stores also rented videotapes. By May 1988, the number of specialty video stores was estimated to be 25,000, in addition to 45,000 other outlets that offered video rentals. Yeah, so it sounds like late 70s is when it started popping off, and then by mid 80s, it was like this is a mainstay staple, and this is something that studios can count on as another revenue stream for their pictures.
Yeah.
I really do think that it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka. I always get them mixed up. I'll never get them right. It's this and the Wizard of Oz in terms of like pervasiveness in American culture of just like knowing those things and like seeing them referenced and everything else, I think those are like the two shining examples.
See, for me, the Wizard of Oz was never my touchstone. I could take, I've watched it a bunch of times. It never spoke to me.
But even things like
Willy Wonka.
the Golden Brick Road and
I get
all
Yellow
that
Brick Road.
stuff.
Yeah, you get all of that stuff, and the cast characters, Toto.
We're not in Kansas
Click
anymore.
Your Heels, all that stuff. I remember all that stuff, but as a kid watching that, I was like, I understand this. But there was something about Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka that when I was a kid, I was like, this is absolutely fascinating. And I think it has a lot to do, and we'll go over it, but it has a lot to do with just that first time you see him. When he comes out of the door.
Oh my God, it's perfect.
And he's limp.
The first GIF?
The very first thing. And Andy and I talked about this earlier, and this obviously people know this, but like he comes out and the cane gets stuck in the ground and he takes one more step after that and then tumbles and pops up. And from that point on, he's even talked about this. He says, like, I wanted that to be my intro because from that point on, you never knew if I was lying or telling the truth. And that, for a kid's movie, is just weird. It's a exciting place for a child to be where like, this is the main character of this movie. I don't know if he's fucking with me.
This is kind of dangerous.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's
cool.
It's so cool. I mean, I grew up loving Wizard of Oz. Like Wizard of Oz to me is like before Marvel and Transformers and everything, like Wizard of Oz and Thomas the Tank Engine. But Wizard of Oz was my shit. I was obsessed with it. And Willy Wonka felt in line. It felt like, to Joey's point, it's like these movies, they felt similarly creative and like it's a whole new world. Like they're special. Like this is more than just watching TV or watching a movie, reading a book. It's like, I'm here. I care about this. And yeah, watching this movie and getting into our thoughts now, like I haven't seen this since I was a kid, and I can't believe like how wild this was for 1971. Like that's the thing for me that I'm like, the production design and the creativity. And when we did Star Wars in review, thinking like they invented lightsabers, they invented X-Wings. This movie invented so much, and like so much stuff that we think of as just like, oh yeah, that's normal pop culture. It's like, it was this movie, and Gene Wilder, just like what you're talking about of his entrance, like they didn't need to go that hard, but did they? I think they did. Like, I think that's what makes this stand out and everyone can understand it. I will say, as an adult, I expected to watch this and have more moments like Joey was talking about of like, oh, wow, there's a lot going on that I didn't understand. Whereas watching it, I was kind of like, all right, cool. Don't be an asshole kid. Be a good kid. That's the moral of the story, period. Like, I thought there was going to be more like deep shit, and maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand it. But like watching it, by the time it ended, I was like, I thought there was going to be a bit more of a like bow on top. But
I mean, it definitely, Tim, has similar sort of moments that reminded me of a lot of other reviews we've done where we go, oh, movies just ended back in the day.
They just ended. I had to,
I was like, oh shit, that's right.
I had to go to the bathroom. There was like 2 kids left to get fucking killed or whatever. And we had like 12 minutes left in the movie. And I was like, oh shit, okay, we're going to get through this, I guess. But despite all that, man, I am so impressed by this. Like, I was entertained the entire way through. Pacing is all over the place. Like, I would say it's bad, but like, it almost doesn't matter because I was just in. And like Slugsworth was such a weird character that I was like,
Slugworth, get it right, okay, Tim? Like,
Slugworth.
Come on.
Did I say Slugs?
You never saw my interpretation
My
of
bad,
it.
my
That's
bad.
crazy.
How many scars?
So many.
But yeah,
Do your parents have like home videos?
God, I
want
to see this.
Oh, yeah.
I want.
Can you get it when you come home for Christmas?
So badly.
Yeah, I can ask him. Yeah, all that stuff is likely in the attic. I'm running around and I boo the villains, and I walk out, boo, you stink, Slugworth. I'm like, oh, you stink, and I'm getting mad at everybody. Get the fuck
hell
out.
yeah.
I can't but imagine his voice like 15
I know.
pitches higher.
No, they cast me because I was doing the.
Oh, you had it?
I was doing like
You had it?
and that's why they cast me as Jafar the next year, because they're like, he was so good as the villain as Slugworth this year. We'll give him Jafar, and I was like, I want to be Aladdin, and they're like, nah. And I was like, I'm gonna go play baseball.
So wait,
What's up?
does everybody know that Andy has this like
Andy-
musical theater background? Because this is new news.
Andy
to
has
me today.
Andy
I'll
mentioned
talk
it, I
about it.
think, a couple times. I do remember you mentioning this, but you blew my mind today when you were like, "Oh, we did a whole season of this and that," and he's talking like he was an ex-Broadway performer.
Yeah.
who
They
just
would
like,
bus kids in to come see us.
yeah, he
Those-
was like, "Oh, the guy
Gosh.
that did that was the head of the theater. He was the director.
He was
like
Disney Teacher of the Year.
Yeah, Disney Teacher
and
of the
that
Year.
was a big deal because of all the teachers in America, Gilbert Cepeda from the Rio Grande Valley won the Disney Teacher of the Year because he was so good at theater. So every year was the children's show, and it was a goddamn event. We would straight up do this show from like fucking December 1st, sometimes until like January something, because they would sell out, so we would sell extra shows and stuff. And it felt like a full-time job, Tim. Like, I was in the theater more than I was in class. I felt like a college player, like, go and play football and like barely going to class. And we would do performances from like 9 a.m. until like 2 p.m. And then we'd go home and then we'd come back for the evening show. There may have been 2 evening shows. This was like a goddamn thing that happened in the RGV where we don't play no games.
I am so jealous of you because I've told this story before. I wanted to be in children's theater so badly when I was a kid, and I finally got my mom to call, and she called, and I heard her go like this. Okay, what's the process like? Okay, how much does it cost? Okay, thank you. And hung the phone, and she goes, they're not taking anymore.
Nick, what'd you think about Willy Wonka?
So funny.
I love this movie. This movie continues to endure. Every time I watch it, it's fun to see little things that I missed before. The production design is amazing, and there is no more iconic portrayal of a role than Gene Wilder's portrayal of Willy Wonka. He just is that. Without him, I don't think you would have had this movie. And I'm very, very interested to watch the Johnny Depp movie next week and see if the vibes are like watching them back to back, because I've never done that before. But I absolutely adore this movie, and it was great watching it again.
Joey?
Yeah, this movie is great. I would amend my list, and in terms of like things that are just like in American culture movie wise, I think Grease is up there too. And this kind of gives me a lot of those vibes as well.
Grease,
especially when
and
you're
they're all musicals.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about like movies just like there's no real good transitions between scenes and characters, and things just end and they just fly into the sky. Like this very much feels like that.
I mean, Grease, though, not to go off on a tangent, that's a musical.
Oh, yeah.
You think of, like, when you think of Grease, I'm like, I can't even tell you whatever the dialogue is. I just know the songs in Grease. I remember in high school, we'd throw a party, my parents would go out of town, and someone would put Grease on, and we'd be singing to each other across the freaking room or across the pool because we're all hammered because we all know the songs.
Well, that's because most of the dialogue is music.
Like that's a musical, right?
Yeah.
You know, it is, I think, kind of important to point out that, like, Wizard of Oz, Grease, Willy Wonka, Lion King, Aladdin, they're all musicals. And, like, the fact that, like, kids can relate to it, but adults can too, I think that might be the whole, like, why it's so dominant and generational, is that, like, there's something about music that, like, people can attach to.
Moana, freaking...
all of it, too. Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen.
Yeah.
And I guess I had never ever... I know that we've always had that debate of, is that actually a musical? And I've always been like, well, Disney animated movies have musical numbers, but like they usually aren't using music to get dialogue across and have like a lot of that is in the dialogue, and it's always like, is there a percentage of what makes a musical? But like I always felt
versus like a movie with music.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because I know that there are many sung songs and many little performances in stuff like even like this movie. But I think of Grease as like the extra echelon of like, no, that's like even more of a musical.
Well, I bet if you looked at the percentage, right? I mean, that's what it breaks down to. Percentage of time singing versus time talking. That's like, Grease is probably 50-50 versus...
Oh, that Cheer Up Charlie song was real long, man.
It's so long.
It's real weird.
But, I mean,
we could have cut that one.
I was like, a lady, like, did you really need this many verses?
It's definitely one of those things where when you go watch... Like,
you never pop up again, Mama Charlie.
You watch like when something was a movie, a musical, and you watch it in the stage, and they needed to put a couple more songs in there. You're like, that's the song that's new.
Yeah,
and I don't like
that's
it.
That's what I saw. Dirty Dancing the musical. It's like, this was not long enough to turn into a Broadway adaptation, so we're gonna add this whole other section.
Not good.
But yeah, I've had some interesting conversations with my mom over the course of the years about a lot of these movies. And the thing that she always tells me about them is that back kind of when all of these were coming out, there weren't necessarily designations between like adult movies and kid movies because
they don't have ratings.
There was no ratings. There's no home movie thing. Like going to the movies was an event. So movies had to appeal to a very wide audience. And when they would come back every few years or whatever, like it was an event. Like everyone was so excited for these to come back. So these movies had to hit across all audiences. And I think that's why they're the things that we think about. I think now with streaming and home video and all this stuff, like everything kind of, the attention gets split.
Well, think about it this way, right? 1971, this movie comes out and it doesn't do well. And then it doesn't pop up on TV. I think there was a stat where it was like it was supposed to be played on TV, and then there was some football game that went 40 minutes over. And so they just cut 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Which is wild, right?
So funny.
And I misspoke, by the way. They did have ratings back then, but they didn't have, I don't think they had PG-13.
Yeah, it was like
that was
a
like a Spielberg
narrowed
movie
view,
that had done.
or a narrowed selection.
Yeah. But I mean, nowadays, a Marvel movie comes out. It's available on streaming when? Like, how far beyond when it stops in theaters is it available? Sometimes it's available on streaming when it's in the movie theater.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It's crazy to think about that.
Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
I love this movie. I think it's so bizarre and weird, and felt like a movie that was made before people really knew how to make movies for this genre. Because it does feel all over the place in moments, and sometimes it's like wildly modernly funny and creative, and like funny lines of dialogue and like just creative humor that happens. And other times it's like slapsticky and things like that. But I love the sinister nature of a lot of it, and a lot of the segments of going around the world and seeing different moments from different people reacting to the Wonka bar news. So much of that, like, I had to click back and I was like, am I watching the extended edition? Because I don't remember a lot of these little moments where people are, talking on the news, and that
the first 2/3 of the movie.
The lady's talking about her husband, like, do I want to save him or do I want to,
This case of Wonka bars?
Yeah, there were so many little pieces of so many little clips like that tonally kind of reminded me of like watching a Kevin Smith movie. Like, little things thrown in there that maybe aren't super necessary, but the directors and the writers found it quirky enough. But I thought all that stuff served really well for that earned moment of him getting the Wonka bar and getting the golden ticket. I think, like, as I'm watching, I'm like, wow, he doesn't get the golden ticket for quite some time in this movie. But I think it's like just the right amount of time, because anything else would have maybe felt a little bit too quick. But I did enjoy, like, when that moment happens, it feels earned. It feels awesome. Like, chills all over my body. I'm like, God, this still hits. Like, they absolutely made this moment feel like magic.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe getting up. Like,
come
on. We'll get to that in the plot. But real quick, let me give you a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. 'Tis the season of giving. Get the perfect gift for a special someone, yourself, or both. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. You already know I've been out Pokemon going, and Shady Rays have been making me look as dope as I want out in the real world. And that's not all. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Shady Rays is currently in their biggest sale of the year for Black Friday. Don't miss out on the best deals for shades, snow goggles, and prescription sunglasses. You can go to shadyrays.com and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com for their biggest sale of the year.
Here's the plot, and we'll hear all about Wonka's assassinations. No, wrong note. It's such a haunting riff.
It's so weird.
Like, that's like the.
Is it like something weird, like a diminished third or something like that?
No, well, it's the idea that one of the notes is a clashing, like those notes are right together.
Those minor.
Those notes are right back to back, and they clash, and it makes you uncomfortable.
But then it opens to this like beautiful thing. Like I've said this word a couple times now, talking to Cameron and Carter. But like the kind of funny intro for this, it's the most beautiful KF intro we've ever had, and it is based on this like very off-putting sound. But like there's something about it.
It's yeah, when metal songs are being written and they make stuff like that sounds evil. They usually do notes like or And that's exactly what you're getting here. And then a melody kind of takes over and it gets a bit nicer, but you're still kind of left with this feeling of, like, I don't know if this is safe. If you would have told me, Nick, that several people died while making this movie, I'd believe it.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the plot synopsis for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams. We kick it off.
What the fuck does that mean, Willie?
It's wild. It's a wild thing to tell
William.
Don't call him William.
William, tell me
William
what that
Wonka.
means.
I've literally never thought about what his full name is.
When you stop to think about how many times the parents in this movie ask Willie to stop doing something, it's crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like the boat ride, they're like, we want off this fucking ride right now. And he's like, nope. Anyway, we get treated to, no pun intended, a montage of how chocolate is made. More importantly, we get a montage of all the songs that we're going to hear in this movie, most of which are spectacular and very nostalgic. School lets out, and kids head straight to the smack. Willy Wonka was born to be a candy man. We get our first song here, which is The Candyman Can. Not my favorite,
first note,
but it kicks
all
off.
caps. This is a musical.
Yep.
The Candyman can.
One thing I immediately noticed throughout this thing, all these little kids are getting candy, and it's, you know, it's supposed to instill you with hope and positivity and happiness. And like one of the things I noticed was in the montage of all the variety of candies and sodas that's happening here, there's like a dispenser of what seem to be jelly beans
on like a fly trap, like fly paper.
Well, no, that's a different
buttons.
thing.
Okay,
Those are the buttons. No, I'm talking about there's like a jelly bean where, like, you know, they turn the knob and everything pours out, and it just kind of reminded me, like, yeah, this is the year 1971 because we couldn't really make artificial colors because the colors of the jelly beans are red, white, black, and kind of a yellow, but not really. Like, it just looked like, back then we didn't have like the toxic stuff to make like the most
5,
neon green type shit.
Yeah.
It was the ugliest looking, like, you see those candies, like, I don't want that. Send those back, you know?
To speak to your thing, I have a note written down that's like, can we just talk about the fact that candy buttons might be the worst candy on the
never had
history
one.
of Earth?
It's so gross looking.
You can never peel them off the paper, right? So you always end up with like some paper remnants.
Is it just a piece of sugar that you...
Yeah.
Like, there's no nut or anything? They look stupid as hell.
Yeah.
That's it right there. We get our first piece of character building moments here because as all the neighborhood kids are celebrating being able to buy whatever candy we want, we see Charlie outside staring at them through the window, and he doesn't go in. He just moves on. From there, he goes to his job, which is delivering papers, so he can get paid and take that money back. On the way home, of course, he walks by the world-famous Wonka Chocolate Factory and watches as the sign on the smokestack gets lit up for the night. I never thought to look up what this factory was in real life. Can anyone guess what it is? I looked it up.
No, I have no idea.
I saw pictures of what it is now, but I don't know what it was.
Is it a shoe factory?
No, it was not a shoe factory. It was a gas
Jumanji.
works. It was a public gas or like a gas factory. I don't know what kind of gas they made in it, but I guess it has since been transitioned over to something else because natural gas has taken over. But if you look at it now, they actually kept the archway.
Oh,
the
cool.
entrance where they enter, they kept it, which is nice, which is pretty cool.
It's in Germany, you said?
It's in Germany, yeah. I forget what street it's on, but yeah. I think it's in the same little town, maybe not, that they did the aerial photography from when he flies over. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, as Charlie's looking through the gate, some crazy old man with a bunch of knives on his cart comes up and says, hey, man, no one ever goes in there. And more importantly, no one ever comes out. And also, beware of little people. He's like, anyone below 5'7" and below, they're dangerous.
Oh, no.
And Charlie's like,
Fuck you, Nick.
why?
And then the police are like, Harold, get back here. What are you doing? How'd you get out?
He dives into a bush. I never saw Harold again. Anyway, Charlie comes home to find all of his
Fucking crazy, though.
Yeah.
Like, what the actual shit, man?
I assume this guy's a knife sharpener, right? Because back in the day, you used to just go pick up people's knives and sharpen them and bring them back to them. I guess.
Maybe?
But the idea that he's approaching this child is also very funny. Like,
Charlie.
Everybody approaches the child in this movie.
Yes. Charlie's living an adult life. We'll just put it that way.
We're the makers of music. Dreamers of dreams. Everybody approaches the child.
Incredible. Charlie comes home to find all of his grandparents still in the same bed together. I think they had a big problem with that in Florida retirement communities a while back.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie offers Grandpa Joe what's left from buying dinner, and the old man reluctantly takes it. The change, rather. Later, Charlie tells Grandpa Joe about the creepy old man outside the factory, and Joe regales
There was
Charlie.
a strange man. I think he was a tinker. What the fuck is a tinker?
Like a tinkerer?
Just tinker.
Oh.
Oh, I thought it was
said?
a tinkerer.
The subtitle said tinker.
What's a tinker?
I don't know.
It
An
could be
unusual-
that's just an old way of saying something.
A
That we can't say
usually-
anymore.
Shit. Oh, damn.
Oh yeah, that's what he is. He's a usual mender of household utensils.
Oh, you're right.
Like the
Immense things.
alfilador. That's
Yeah.
what in Latin communities there's an alfilador that walks around and goes kind of like an ice cream man, but he sharpens people's knives and stuff.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
cool.
And it would be very clear, it's nothing like an ice cream man, okay? Well, nothing like it. Never has a parent ran outside being,
I can imagine Kevin getting excited and then getting disappointed.
Oh, man.
I feel like there's an equal inside.
You're not wrong. I have
It's
a lot
either
of
ice
blades.
cream or shoving it in knives.
Can. Grandpa Joe gives a little backstory about Wonka. Wonka is a world famous Candyman maker. He had to close his factory because all spies tried to steal his stuff. Chief among them was Slugworth.
Come on.
Who
Like,
would
what a
do
plot.
anything to get into this factory.
I am engaged at this point. Like, this is so damn good.
I wish that wasn't mentioned here. I wish that Slugworth wasn't mentioned there. I wish it was just spies. I wish it was just like people are just trying to ruin this guy's company. They're trying to take his secrets, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of start to see this guy everywhere and nowhere. How does this man liquefy into real
Just
life?
to whisper to the kids.
Yeah.
In all these
Well,
different states and countries.
because they knew where the tickets were going to be.
But you don't know when they're going to be picked. I don't know.
Well, he knew, but,
It's just
but
he-
he
I
works
guess he
for...
But he's
could.
everywhere, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think he knew. I think the way I read it now as an adult is that all this was a setup from the get-go, and they knew what box had which ticket, where it was going.
So Willy
And Slugworth
Wonka
works for Willy Wonka.
Jigsaw
Exactly.
equal.
If you told me Slugworth was like, it was really triplets or quadruplets, and there was many
Fair.
of them. But it's
Oh.
but like because like the other ones I think are understandable when they're not really understandable because he's legitimately in just a warehouse where these women are trying to find the golden ticket, and then he pops up as if he's an employee. I'd have been like, "Who the fuck are you? You don't you don't work here."
I guess the question is that I don't remember what he wasn't at the fake ticket, right? In South America.
Yeah, because they knew he was.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Damn.
Layers of
Exactly.
this
That's why
shit.
they never showed it.
I do want to give a shout out. I know it's 1971, so I'm not talking shit. But this movie has, I don't want to say the worst, because it's not bad,
Dubbing.
but the most ADR I've
ADR is
I don't
so
think
bad.
a single line in this movie was shot on set.
Yeah, that and there's a couple of them that are so rough. Like there's a couple Willy Wonka lines that were done off screen that I'm pretty sure weren't Gene Wilder either. It was like someone doing the impression because you're like that
Nolan
dude's
North.
voice is way darker, like deeper than Wilder's. But
There's a couple things in like when we're first in Charlie's house that I think are so interesting of like the fact that they call their dinner cabbage water and not cabbage soup is just like one of those things. It's like everything is just like a little bit off, but
A
in
little bit more poor.
Yeah.
like in that
but
moment.
in like such a way that's like, oh, this is interesting.
Because like cabbage soup sounds like one thing. Cabbage
Yeah.
water seems like scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of
Yeah.
like just not having money in the house, and that makes you feel even more for this. And I love that he's like, I'm tired of cabbage water. This shit sucks. And everybody's like, whoa, this guy's fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Charlie, come on, man.
what do you want to try to be a rock and roller? What do you
But
want?
you know, it is funny because like this being like a weird, surreal, but also like real story. The description on I forget where I watched it, Apple or Amazon or HBO or something. But the description was like, so there's this poor kid, Charlie. Yo, he's hella poor. Like he's the most fucking poor dude you've ever fucking met.
How many did you open? 200? No, just 2. Man, you poor motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's-
it's
I
the
mean-
gif of like Donald cutting the invisible bread loaf like really
Yeah.
thin or whatever.
But I think that's why I think the first act and a half of this movie are so compelling, right? Because they do such a good job of putting you in Charlie's shoes. He's a good kid.
Yep.
And
Like
all
here-
these other kids are spoiled little shits that get to open 400 candy bars. And
Here's the rest of my money so you could buy your last little thing of
tobacco.
tobacco. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I don't need tobacco. He's like, no, Grandpa,
I mean,
fucking take it. You,
what
you fucking
he literally
addict.
says, great line where Grandpa Joe says, you know, when you consider a loaf of bread a feast, like I don't deserve to have
Yeah.
tobacco. And Charlie's like, dude, got to get it in where you can, bro. We don't know what tomorrow's gonna look like for us, you know.
He's like, take this cigar, and he's like, and you're gonna have this money, but it's just such a funny way of like, no, you want this because you can't live without it, can you, Grandpa? And
Do
he's
you
like,
think
I
at
can't,
some
Charlie.
point Charlie and Mom got together and were like, we gotta have a conversation about whichever one of these grandparents goes first, because there's a lot of meat on those bones.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
You're not wrong.
I did not think that that's where you were going.
You're not wrong.
Don't side with him.
Clean it up a little bit, take it out. A day later, come back. I found some sort of small animal in the woods that was dead.
Big dinner for the funeral. Like how?
I love their names too, Joe and Josephine, and I forget the other one, but it was like Dave and Deva.
Can we talk about how, like, do you think the other, like, look, there's 6 people in this family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the other grandparents are like, why Grandpa Joe? Why is Charlie not like any of us? Like, there's no.
Why is he the
relationship
star
there.
of the show?
Yeah, it's weird. Also, what happened to Charlie's dad? Like, there's.
They kind of got into it.
Did they get into it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it seems like very nondescript, like Disney, like missing parent kind.
Yeah, it's just I never put 2 and 2 together that there's just no dad. It's just Charlie's like has to take care of the family, and which makes it even like scarier when you're a kid watching that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Do you think that they were ever like, we can't put all 4 of these people in the same bed? Like, why are we putting all of them in the bed all for 20 years?
20 years in
You're
this bed.
this
I
bed.
fucking wish I was them. That's all I want. I just want to chill in bed
wanna sleep, bro.
forever.
This is a side note that doesn't really apply to very few people, but at some point, you're going to watch Summer House, and all the girls do in Summer House is want to lay in bed, and they make so many jokes about this, and it's so funny.
so true.
Get it, dude.
I get it too. The next day, a kid interrupts class to tell everyone about the golden ticket competition. Wonka's hidden 5 golden tickets in millions of Wonka bars. The 5 people who find them will get a lifetime supply of chocolate and a personal tour of the factory by Wonka himself. They cancel class for it. All the kids rush out of class, all except for Charlie, who just calmly collects his things and walks out of class like it's any other day. The whole world goes crazy for Wonka, including the White House. Love that little shot of the Wonka truck like in front of the actual White House. Not sure how the hell they got that, but that's great.
All of these news interstitials, like they're so weird and like oddly toned, and it does none of these feel like they belong in a kids movie.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
But it all
I like
works.
them.
It's like the most bizarre thing, man. So much about this movie is like, it's not good, but it works. And then it's good.
It's interesting because, I mean, I think they shot a few more that didn't end up making this. But you can start to see, you're like, as you look at it from an adult's perspective, and you're like, there's a lot of this was just padding out this movie, where they needed it to hit like an hour and 30, and they really only had maybe 60 minutes of stuff all told. So it's interesting. But I like it because to me, it's like 3 movies in one. It's a story of a kid who's just trying to like provide for his family, the story of this crazy inventor and his factory, and then all these random interstitials and how people react to this whole situation. It's pretty cool. Ticket number 1 goes to the German, Augustus Gloop. And man, this kid reminds me of myself growing up. Everything makes him hungry. Years later, we discovered that that's called anxiety. Mr. Slugworth was...
I feel sorry for
dad-
Wonka. It's going to cost him in fudge.
The dad ate the microphone. What's up with that? Like, interviewer just carried on. Yeah, because he like...
Oh, because he ate it.
He gives the microphone to the dad, like after he bites
Little
it. It's like,
Trump.
what the hell's going on with y'all? And why was he allowed 2 parents on the trip?
Oh, no, it was just his mom, wasn't it?
Oh, just the mom?
Yeah, you know what's funny? That's one of those, like, what do they call it? Mandela effects? Where I always thought his dad was in the factory, too. But I think it's because Veruca's dad is in the factory.
Oh, okay.
His mom's in the factory, and she's the one that's, like, goes after him the first time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, after in the
Charlie gets a Wonka bar for his birthday and rightfully states that we've got this interesting pull between Grandpa Joe and the mom, like not wanting Charlie to get his hopes up, but then also encouraging him. And Charlie has a wonderful moment here where I think his mom is like, "Don't get your hopes up," and he's like, "I have as good a chance as anyone," which is a great moment to like. He like kind of stands up to her a little bit. Why not? I have as good, I'm basically saying I am as good as everyone else, regardless of my stature. This kid had great.
I think that there's this moment coming up here where I think this moment coming up here is one of the I think it's such a small little thing that happens, but I love them opening up that chocolate, and the only line Charlie says is, "I bet you that gold ticket makes the chocolate taste funny." And it's like, oh, that's such an earnest moment, and it's so good, and it's just a little thing, but I love little moments like that in where you could kind of highlight a character's,
real
goodwill.
intentions, who they are.
Well, not only that, he goes one further and he offers everyone in the family a bite. He's always offering people, breaking off and making sure everyone's fed and stuff like that. Juxtapose that, of course, with Veruca Salt. Just the best name of any. Well, second best name. Because Mike TV is
Mike TV.
Violet Beauregard is also good.
They're all damn amazing names.
Charlie Bucket might be the worst one.
I mean, I guess like when I think about this in like realistic terms, it's like they're different versions of like they're all like Power Rangers. Like they all have their own little thing. It's like there could have just been another Charlie Bucket, like just a normal kid. There wasn't a kid who just goes to school and he's like, yeah, I'm here to chill. But like Veruca Salt, who is an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
Violet Beauregard loves chewing gum, and her stupid bitch ass friend. like I got the record. Like it's just so weird that all of them feel like a Burger King fucking whiz kid.
The whiz kids?
Like, you know what I mean?
He only wants to talk during commercials.
Yeah.
Like, so many little things.
Veruca Salt's father, of course, using his entire peanut factory, Salt Peanuts, which I never caught before this. Crazy. To check unwrapped, and they're all unwrapping chocolate bars in like an assembly line sort of fashion.
Make them work nights.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing, it's straight up Pokemon cards, man. I was watching this whole thing and I'm like, I've seen YouTube videos like this recently.
I love that line where she goes, they're jealous of me.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
And even the line that the dad says when he's like trying to motivate them, like, you'll get a 1 pound bonus. I'm like, 1 pound? Like 1 British pound is like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, is just an interesting.
It's great.
That would have been in today's standards. I don't know what that would be. It would probably be like giving someone $20.
Yeah.
As a bonus for working all night, all day long. Fun little fact here. I don't know if you have it, but I read the chocolate bars weren't chocolate bars. They were wood because they couldn't. They were like, it's way cheaper just to spray paint wood and wrap it than it is to actually get chocolate. Because that makes sense, right?
Do you guys remember when they did this in real life? Like the Wonka, when they actually made, like Nerds was popping off in the late 90s and then or early 90s. I don't know when Nerds happened, but then they did like the actual Wonka bar and there was the golden ticket. And I don't remember what you won, but like, it was like, it must have been the year 2000 or something, but it was a huge deal.
I was wondering if there was anything nowadays that would create such a big commotion worldwide.
I mean,
McDonald's Monopoly nights.
That was a big thing.
It's like the Beanie Baby thing. Even the McDonald's.
Like if Warren Buffett was like,
oh, got it.
I'm going to put $1 billion check in 5 different, like, would there be mass hysteria in a similar way?
The answer is yes.
I mean, just look at the California Lotto, right? Isn't it like bigger and bigger every time they do it?
Dude, it always shocks me, man. Like, I'll go to a 7-Eleven and there's just people in line buying lotto tickets every time.
That's on purpose, though. So they like changed the rules. Like before, it was like you had to hit 5 and then a super number, and I think now it's like 6. But I can't remember the rules and what they changed. But so they made it so it's harder to hit, so the number gets bigger, so people get really excited when it gets bigger.
Yeah, because every time there's a drawing and people don't win, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just goes into the pot, right?
Yeah,
it just keeps going bigger and bigger and bigger.
But the problem is if people win every like 2 months, then the pot doesn't get that big.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to build excitement. With 3 tickets remaining, of course, note Slugworth is at both scenes here. With 3 tickets remaining, a computer dork tries to use his computer to compute where the final 3 tickets will be found, and the computer tells him, I won't tell you, that would be cheating.
This is the weirdest one.
But I love this.
It's so weirdly prophetic, man. Like, you think about like the AI stuff, when the computer's like, what would I do with a lifetime supply of chocolate? It's just so good, man. Like, there's something so simple about the commentary, but it's just like, yeah, it is what it is. Apply what you need to apply to this logic because it works.
The amount of I was telling Nick, I feel like there was probably about 30 or 40 different things filmed in random scenarios where a random character is trying to do something. Like, I just love how like not together so much of this feels.
Yeah.
You know?
And none of that feels dated, like at all, especially when we Keegan Hill says, I literally thought about in 2023 scalpers would be buying all the Wonka bars. We're talking about the Taylor Swift tickets, all this stuff. Like, this is like not a far-fetched theory by any means.
The Taylor Swift concert is probably the biggest thing to the fervor that this would have created.
Those are the golden tickets.
I mean, they were, right? Like there was just a moment overnight seemingly where everyone was just talking about this. And it was a worldwide phenomenon that propelled her into like this crazy upper echelon status of like human beings.
Me trying to get my limited edition Steam Deck. The OLED one.
But now it seems pretty easy, right?
No, super tough.
Everyone was
super
so
tough.
excited about it, and I was like, wait, I can just buy one now? Like a week later?
Ticket number 3 goes to Violet Beauregard from Montana. Violet is a gum chewer by trade, but she set some world records. But
people, Andy.
she took a break to switch over to candy so she could find herself one of those tickets, similar to when I tried to quit smoking by drinking copious amounts of Starbucks coffee.
Here we are.
Once again, Slugworth makes his pitch. Charlie tells his mom about the 3rd ticket. He feels sorry for himself, but his mom tells him, hey, don't feel sorry for yourself. You'll get your chance. One day things will change for you, probably when you least expect it.
And then she starts singing.
And man,
literally,
this song sucks.
Don't remember this. Like, watching this scene, I was no way this is real. This must be the extended cut. Like, no fucking way. It's bizarre as hell.
Song's not great. It just lasts way too long. I fast forwarded through most of it.
Cheer up, Charlie.
It reminds me a lot of like the music from Pete's Dragon, which I think is also in this era. And I was like, oh, I think I just categorized that in that movie.
Yeah.
But it was in this one.
That's funny.
Ticket number 4 goes to Mike TV, which is just the baddest name. How do you think that's spelled, by the way?
It's
I saw it.
E-V-E, right?
It's Teevee. Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude.
badass.
Love
Mike
this kid.
loves 2 things: watching TV, eating chocolate while watching TV, and guns.
Yep.
Fuck yeah. The American way.
Yeah. My dad won't let me have one.
Love the news reporter here when the 4th ticket is drawn. He says, we must remember there are so many more important things in life than just this, and I can't think of any of them right now, but there must be some.
Yeah, little lines like that. I'm like, God, this is funny. And
the news reporter is defeated because the news reporter is not just reporting the news. He wants a ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every time someone wins a ticket, you see everyone's reaction of being like, fuck, it's not going to be me. And how that happened. And like, there's a whole movie to be made just of this concept.
I mean,
there.
When he is initially introducing all of this on the news, I felt like I was suddenly watching a documentary about like some world event. Because it's not played for kids. This isn't a news guy going, Wonka bars are going. Oh my God! It's this guy going. And today, Willy Wonka released 5. And it's like it felt like I was watching the news of like a president being killed or something.
Yeah.
It was very odd, tonally, but it's awesome. I love it.
I think the most interesting scene, or one of these little snippets for me, is when they get to the auction.
Yeah.
Because there's so few bars left in the world that a case goes for like 10,000 pounds, and he literally it ends with. Do you remember how that scene ends?
Yeah.
With him looking up and going, "Your Majesty."
Yeah.
The queen. It's like the queen's there to buy it. Like and then it just stops. And it's so haunting. It's so weird. And then of course we get the scene with the kidnapper where she's like, he wants your box of Wonka bars. How long did he give me?
Funny. I would like to give a formal apology to Grandpa Joe because when I said that nobody in this movie has been in anything else, he was in the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh
shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hackman?
cool.
The Hackman version? Nice. Ticket number 5 has been found. A man in Paraguay, South America, has found it. Charlie cries in his bed, and this is a gut-wrenching scene for me because they're like, let him sleep one more night. And he's like, I'm awake. I know everything.
Just
Let him sleep.
tears
Let him have
streaming.
one more dream.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
That sucks. The next day in class, the teacher tries to teach everyone percentages by asking each student what percentage of 1,000 Wonka bars they opened, and Charlie admits he only has 2, and it's so little that the teacher says, I can't calculate that. Let's pretend you did 200.
Yeah.
On the way home, Charlie spots a coin in the gutter grate. He heads to the candy shop to buy a Wonka Scrumdiddlyumptious bar, which the owner doesn't have to hide anymore because the tickets have been found. Charlie rips it open and digs in.
Which always confused me. Because I was like, were the tickets ever in the Scrumdiddlyumptious bars?
I think they're always in the Scrumdiddlyumptious bar.
Yeah,
No,
I think
they're only in the chocolate bars. But the Scrumdiddlyumptious ones comes in like a different package.
It's like a different block shape.
Yeah.
That's confusing.
I was very confused by the different shapes of different birds. Like, and then he's like, "Well, while you're at it, have a regular one." When he asks when you get the extra one,
That's the one, right?
But man, he is going to town on this chocolate, dude.
Going
Well,
for it, man.
it's
I
interesting.
felt like he was gonna like knock a
Chill
tooth off
out,
because it looks
dude.
so hard, and
Yeah.
it's like he was eating a cube shape. It's like, man, you're going about it
Just
wrong.
breaking it off with his teeth. Like, you're definitely lying. But another interesting character moment, right? The competition's over. Nobody else is in this shop, and Charlie still wants this chocolate. He
just
still
wants
just
the
likes the chocolate.
chocolate.
Right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but he opens the thing up and just starts eating it. It's like
Just
I could just.
housing it.
He's like, I just get to enjoy this chocolate again. I don't need to necessarily worry about this.
It just doesn't look like a good shape for the mouth, you know?
Yeah.
being honest too. You know they have the Wonka bar now. The Wonka brand is alive. It doesn't look like very good. It's not very appetizing to me.
But it's good, though.
Is it
Is
good?
it?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had one in 20 years.
We
but
should
like,
have gotten Wonka.
No, I
chocolate
mean,
right
it's
now.
pure milk
Nah,
chocolate.
but
we can get one
but
for next
candy
week. Yeah, look.
in the last 20, 30 years has been on a severe chocolate has been a severe decline in America.
Really? No, stop. You put one of these scrumdiddlyumptious bars up against a Snickers. Get the hell out of here, Wonka.
I mean, you're right.
Snickers is going to dominate.
You're right, but a Snickers in England even better.
Oh, obviously, I love that you're on that. That chocolate's better in Europe.
It is.
It's true. Of course, before he leaves,
the different
Swiss.
different ingredients and just like water and shit that they use.
Before he leaves, he decides to buy one more chocolate bar for his Grandpa Joe, just to be a nice kid. Outside, a crowd stirs around the newsstand that Charlie gets his papers from. Ticket number 5 was fake. And Charlie...
It's fake. Let's fucking kill this guy.
with a renewed sense of hope, begins to open his second scrumdiddlyumptious bar.
It's so good.
And as he opens it, we see a glimmer of gold. And this is where a 43-year-old Nick Scarpino starts having heart palpitations. I was like, kid, put that fucking bar back in your goddamn bag.
The music here, it's
and
perfect.
Walk away
man.
slow. Walk away slow.
We start hearing the notes coming up, and it's just like
swells.
Dude, it's so good.
Swell that hits. Like we're there. Like I love what you're just saying, Nick, is so true. It's like you feel the sense of tension for him based on how they built it in this movie, but you also just feel like you fucking earned this, Charlie. Fuck yes.
I thought they were gonna play more into when everybody starts crying around him. I thought that was gonna be more of
him having a run,
of a battle,
an action scene.
Yeah, or like I'll give you this for like,
parkour.
John Wick
status.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's lucky he had a guardian angel in the street that day to be like, Charlie, get the fuck home, man.
It's his boss. It's the newspaper guy.
That's right. That's right.
He goes, you need to get home now. Like run
Charlie,
home.
I'll
Don't
hold him
tell
back.
anyone. Yeah.
There's
no reason. We're getting a shotgun.
Forgotten land.
Also, tragic news: Wonka bars no longer around. Got discontinued earlier this year.
Earlier this year.
Seems like a missed opportunity.
They're coming back for the movie. They gotta come back.
Thankfully, I see. Mr. Slugworth comes out of freaking nowhere and pitches Charlie, and we finally understand what the pitch is. He says if he steals one of Wonka's everlasting gobstoppers, in return, Slugworth will pay him $10,000, I think, which should be enough to keep Charlie's family in comfort for the rest of their lives, provided they all continue to share that same old bed.
I love him. I love him just giving the whole story. There's no like, hey man, you get one of them gobstoppers, let me bring it back to me. I'd like to check it out. I'll give you money for it. But it's like, hey, what's up? I'm Slugworth. I'm here. I run another chocolate company, and I'm here to steal. Like, nobody could do research. They're like, oh, Slugworth doesn't work there.
Well, no, remember because he told him the story of the old man told him the story of Slugworth, right? Or Grandpa Joe told him the Slugworth is a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
but he's
brand,
not
right?
the owner of this other candy company in the world.
No, if you show someone that worked at Slugworth, whatever the candy company is, that's the guy. That's not my boss.
Which again is another weird. Obviously, like people couldn't just Google back in the day, but the fact that Grandpa's like Slugworth, this guy, he's trying to put Willy Wonka out of business and stuff, and Willy Wonka is being like, hey, this fucking Slugworth guy is trying to steal my stuff. And it turns out he's on the books for Willy Wonka Corporation.
I know this doesn't fully add up, but like if someone walked up to you, Andy, and they're like, hey, like I'm the polar bear from Coca-Cola. You want to go to the Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta, Georgia? And you'd be like, yeah, I do. And then like if Mr. Pepsi came up to you and was like, I'm Mr. Pepsi, I'm trying to steal this shit. You wouldn't know what the fuck Mr. Pepsi looks like.
He looks like a cool guy. It's a good soda.
Damn
it.
I'll tell you.
Out of here.
I'll tell you what though.
Guy checks out.
Part of it did make me think like, did Wonka just make up a fake rival? And is he really not having trouble?
Possibly, right?
Yeah. He's doing the Michael Jordan like, I took it personally. It's like, no, he never had an issue with other candy corporations.
His whole motivation in this is to find someone who's like pure of heart that can can have the spirit for the rest of his life. They have that imagination. So I wouldn't put it past him if Slugworth, he just owns that company too. And is like the whole point of that company is to rival mine, to create this thing, to create this moment where I pick the child that's going to run this company.
Very
This guy's thinking in 3D, Andy.
Yeah.
But
He's away the business, and Charles like, man, there was a lot of debt attached to
yeah. It turns out like it's like when you inherit something, you're like, ooh, that was.
I need an origin story of the Oompa Loompas. You know what I mean?
Give it to you in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't.
Sorry, no future spoilers.
Oh shit. Okay, well. I was joking because like I think that's what the movie's about in a couple weeks that we're gonna watch, but I actually haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know.
We
Wonka's
get
a prequel, right?
Yeah.
we
About how he gets his chocolate factory.
Does it explain the Oompa Loompas?
I have heard one thing about the movie, and I'm not going to say it because it's if this is actually true in the basis of the movie, it'll be a great interview.
Fuck yes, dude. Let's go.
Charlie rushes home to tell Grandpa Joe, who hasn't moved from his bed in ages, but when he reads the ticket that says Charlie gets one guest, suddenly Grandpa Joe's all spry. This guy hasn't gotten out of bed in 20 years. And Charlie's like, and he's like, oh, you can bring someone? Hold on, I'm suddenly feeling a little bit better. And Charlie's like, oh, you're feeling okay, Grandpa Joe? Got some newspapers out there that need to be delivered. And Grandpa's like, oh, I'm back, hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're hurting a little bit.
Kevin, I know you were doing such a great job of bringing up footage and stuff like that. And in this moment where they are like, he's like, can I move? And he like spins himself on the bed and he's like trying to like get swung out. The other old grandpa who's sitting down, I'm looking at Santa's like, all right, I'm looking at this person. I'm thinking two things. He looks like the dude that plays chess in the Toy Story Pixar show, Gerald's Game or whatever. That's what it's called. Or
Gerald's Game, I think, is
Different. It's Gerald's Game. Hey everyone, just Google Gerald's Game.
Well, no, but I thought the short was like a name parody about that. Jerry's Game or something like.
I think you're right.
I thought it was like a
Gerald's
parody.
Game, very different.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that old man on the right. Oh, and he looks like Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
it's all connected.
For sure. Yeah. Of course, Grandpa Joe is so.
How do they sleep?
Not well.
Are they all like on their sides, you think?
Just on their
I
back.
think they all sit up, right?
Oh, it's called Jerry's Game, the Pixar version.
Look up Google Gerald's Game
No.
and read me the synopsis of that one. That's weird. You look that
Mike
up. for me, Tim.
Flanagan.
And we get the second best song, in my opinion, in this movie. I've never thought my life could be anything but catastrophe, but suddenly I begin to see a bit of luck for me because I got a golden ticket.
God damn, dude. So good.
I got a golden twinkle in my eye. I love that.
Oh.
The song is so freaking good.
But he gets up like out of bed in the last 20 years.
Well,
Like when Charlie and the mom are at work. Do you think
I'm a
that they
little
like stretch their legs?
concerned.
Muscles have got to be atrophied.
Yeah.
Atrophied for sure. But like they're all wearing their weird little nightgowns, right?
Yeah.
That like something about it just bothers me. Like I don't like the nightgowns. But like why
There's just free ball down there.
a lot of free balling going on. But like why is his like upper part
So dirty.
So dirty and it looks like he peed on it. And I got
think
a
that's
little too fixated
that's
on the
the
idea.
OLED
Like the
saturation.
physics of
'cause
it.
it's just it'll look brown, but it's like it's just like where you know if
Aged.
Because I got to let you guys know, like, I thought about for at least 10 minutes, and I could not stop thinking about,
he
like,
accidentally peed.
the details of him having to pee, like, how the pee was like, all right,
gosh.
so he's in the gown, so the gown, he's laying down, it's up a little bit, the dick's just out. He's
Yeah.
just peeing on himself.
Yeah.
Like,
It's hard to see because you guys are covering it, but there is a bowl right
bedpan
here.
right there.
Yeah.
There's bedpans under each of them.
Yeah, it's where they
When they,
can
when
poop.
they
You
punch.
think you need
yeah.
3 of them?
I got
Or 4 of them?
a lot of
Yeah, they're not sharing.
look at
right?
this, dude. He peed on himself.
Yeah.
Oh, the other grandpa also looks like what's his name in Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
I got a lot of
Back to the Future guy.
Mm-hmm.
Whose name
I
is
was gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna say
Great
I
question.
Chris
got a-
Daniels.
Christopher Lloyd.
I was gonna say I got a lot of Doc and Marty vibes in here. When he's talking, there's a lot of, well, we gotta go, Charlie. Like he just has that kind of vibe, you know.
A little too much Trump on that one.
We need to go to the chocolate factory. We gotta go.
Cameron Kennedy bringing up a great point. That mattress is rancid.
Yo, yeah.
Oh, it's not
Oh,
good.
man, they're stinky.
Oh man, they're gonna be stinky. Yeah. Let's see, man. We're like halfway through this movie. We haven't even seen Wonka yet. Charlie
yeah.
puts a pause in the festivities to tell Grandpa Joe about Slugworth's deal. The next day, or pitch rather, the next day, the whole world gathers outside the gates of Wonka's factory, desperately awaiting any sight of the famed Willy Wonka. The clock strikes 10 a.m. and out walks Wonka in a purple coat and brown top hat and cane. And he walks with a limp, which puts a hush on the crowd. As he approaches, of course, the gate, his cane gets stuck in one of the cobblestones, forcing him ahead a couple steps without it. Wonka pauses and then tumbles forward, popping up with a spectacular smile as the crowd goes absolutely wild. And this is the moment when I was a kid that I fell in love with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we're in for something crazy here. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's not what I expected. And Gene Wilder nails this. I read a line, a piece of dialogue, or excuse me, a piece of trivia rather, that was talking about when he first tried on the costume. He was like, they're like, what do you think? And he goes, this is great. I especially love the hat, but if we made it 2 inches smaller, it would be perfect. And it's like, why?
Why?
So
I
weird.
love it though.
But he's right.
No,
But
it's
he's
weird.
right.
I keep saying things like this, but like this is the moment it looks like a film set for the first time. Like before this, it looks like a town. You see the different like candy shop or the house or whatever. Seeing this place, it doesn't look real, even from the outside. The moment you get in the gate, it's like things look a little plasticky and the door's a little weird and everything. But like it doesn't take away. It's not like, oh, it's a movie. All of a sudden it's like, oh, this is reality here. And that's weird. And there's something about that when you can look past the fakeness and it starts to feel real. Like, and maybe it's just that I remember from being a kid, but like there's something about it that I'm like, God damn, this is special as hell.
Well, first off, I love the next line, which I never picked up before. But this is why I love doing these in reviews. As he's greeting the people coming through the gates, he says, "Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I'm so glad you could come. It's going to be such an exciting day. I hope you'll enjoy it." I think you will. And he has that weird pause in the middle of it where you're like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean? And the band starts playing, and then as they enter, dead cut.
Yep.
No more music.
Yeah.
Like if this were a modern movie or you're doing it, you'd have the music trail off as they were entering into it. But there is something so off-putting about just a smash cut, and they're just right on the other side of the door. You can't hear shit.
And they're in a theme park now.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Right. This crazy magical place where right off the bat he's like, everyone hang your coats here, and the hands grab it, and that's when you're like, what's going on?
What the fuck?
What is happening?
That was insane. But like even before then, as he greets them at the gate, he like touches all the kids in a very inappropriate way, and it just feels off-putting and weird. And then you see them all walk in, and there's such color identity to each of the kids and the families.
The Power
and,
Rangers.
Yeah, but it just immediately, like, you don't need to care about who's tied to who or what. It's like you get it. Like you understand that they are different, and then you see Charlie, and there's something about the way that he's framed against everyone else that like makes him look different, and it just backs everything up so well. Like such great production design on the entire film.
And there's just like the little touch of the fact that he's wearing the scarf that everyone knitted from his birthday. Is like, this is a special piece that he got that he's wearing on this special occasion. And he's just like such a precious character. Also, Violet's dad, big Bob Vance energy. In this scene when he's getting
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
You know that if you'd watch The Office.
No, I appreciate that. Maybe 10 years from now when I watch it, I will. The kids, they don't necessarily represent the 5 deadly sins, right?
See, that's
what I was
like
wondering
thinking
about
as an
that.
adult.
7
I would be like
7.
yeah,
Makes
like,
sense.
You should
that's
watch Shazam.
that's why they made the movie 7 and not 5.
But like I thought there'd be more of that, but it's kind of just more like, oh yeah, Charlie's a good kid. There are a bunch of bad kids.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of.
I mean, mostly they're just greedy.
I think-
right?
yeah.
Just greed. It's not lazy.
greed and gluttony. That's it.
Yeah, no, I
Green
think,
glutton.
I think, as Roald Dahl was trying to think of archetypes, you just went to whatever is less pleasant to
Spoiled
be
kids.
around. Yeah, little brats,
And also like not a surprise in this, and like they do touch on like, oh, it's worldwide, and we see some like oh, they're in Japan, but we just see like some like Japanese characters, and that's kind of it. This movie's just all white people, like 100% white people.
Oh, yeah.
There's Oompa Loompas, which I don't know, but like,
No.
yeah, that's a whole other.
That's a whole other ball of wax.
That's
to
the
unpack.
Trump race. That's the orange face.
No, I think in the books they were on this. I don't know. That's a piece of trivia that they were supposed to be like African pygmies, and people were like, "That's inappropriate," because that's taking a group of people maybe against their will and making them work into your factory for you
Yeah,
is a little
not
weird.
great.
Real
Vibes.
bad.
They're like, why don't we change them to be like these mythical characters that were like?
But even
they put a
then,
little
though,
more backstory
I
in it.
do feel like they present Willy Wonka not as a good guy. So it's like, it's kind of interesting where it's like he's fucking weird, and like, yeah, he like we all look at this now.
Don't they talk about how he saved them from a creature?
Yes, but that's perspective, and that's twisting the story.
yeah,
Like I
it's
feel like the movie,
basic colonialism.
the movie telling us that, like, it's weirdly smarter than I think it kind of like presents itself. Where we talk about Karate Kid, and it's like I knew about Johnny Lawrence being the hero of that movie before I watched the movie, just because of modern internet. Like, actually, like this is the whole thing, right? And I feel like Willy Wonka, the internet is like, well, Willy Wonka killed a bunch of kids, like whatever. But watching the movie, I'm like, we're not smarter than it. It kind of just told us that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's something like sinister about Wonka.
Yeah.
Right? Is he a good dude? I don't know, but he makes good candy.
He's like Jigsaw, where he's like, I don't kill people.
Exactly.
Their
own greed does.
I give them choice.
I mean,
no,
to be fair, he doesn't
don't
kill people.
stop.
Yeah, I know.
I love all that.
Wonka makes them all sign a contract before going in. Love the design of this.
Oh.
As it gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where it's just completely legible.
And even the callback at the end where he has the portable one and he has the little magnifying glass.
He says, I think it's Violet's that. He says, I assume there's an accident indemnity clause. And Wonka says, never between friends. What does that mean?
It's just so
He has all these
good.
wonderful asides to the parents that's just placating them. And they kind of get it, but they kind of don't. They're like, wait, is he trying to be like a friend? Or is he on my level? Or is he just totally doesn't like anyone that's involved in the situation at all?
And I wonder how many of those things are in the screenplay and how many of those are coming from Gene Wilder. And like maybe that's just an indication of how well this movie is written, that it feels like so inherently him.
Totally.
Like it was written
even
for
the line of
specifically.
You got to go forward to go back. Oh, it's getting smaller. Like this could have been Jeff Goldblum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Grandmaster.
Yeah.
That is the first piece of sort of magic that we see here as they go
pure
into the
imagination.
room.
And Thor Ragnarok.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Oh.
They come back around. And he goes, "You got to go." And he's like, "That's the same door we just came out through." And of course, when they go through, it's not. It's another hallway. That's the little mini hallway, which is hilarious. And they said, "My dear friends, you are now about to enter the nerve center to the entire Wonka factory. Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams. And almost everything you see is edible. You can eat it." And then, of course, in another moment that just is near and dear to my heart, Augustus Gloop says, "Let me in, I'm starving." And if I were that kid, I'd be like this. I would enter that room and I'd be like this. Let me tell you something, Wonka. You and what army are going to get me out of this room? You better deliver some Domino's pizza to me right now. And some Diet Coke, 'cause I'm staying here the rest of my life. Wonka plays Rachmaninoff on the wall, and it opens to reveal.
Is that what that is?
Remember her mom says Rachmaninoff.
Oh, yeah.
And we reveal for the first time the chocolate room, a garden of candy with a waterfall and a lazy river of pure chocolate. Hold your breath, make a wish, count to 3, and we get Pure Imagination, which is a great song. Best song.
Oh, I mean, this is one of those songs that can be covered a bazillion times and still hit just as hard. And I think Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, same thing. Like, there's something timeless about the music that it just hits and it touches on a core of the human experience. You know what I mean? That it's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it's. This song is a testament to how wonderful the song is and the setting and how well they set this up. Gene Wilder, not a good singer.
Yeah.
But you don't even care.
You don't care.
And also with the ADR, not even sure it's him.
Yeah, maybe not. And if should have gotten someone else. It's like when Emma Watson sang in Beauty and the Beast. We're like, oof, that's a lot of autotune in that bad boy.
The Disney movies, we've talked about this a million times, but the singing voices and talking voices are different people.
Oh yeah, smart.
Yeah.
And the animated movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, always. Smart.
Even in High School Musical.
Oh, really?
The first one, it's not Zac Efron. It's some other guy.
But it's My Girl V. Hudges, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll tell you what, though. You know who sang all of his parts? Danny Zuko.
He did.
Did he? I don't know. I guess.
I think he did.
Actually, now that I'm saying that, I'm like, maybe he did it. It sounded like John Travolta. Olivia Newton-John for sure sang it because she was the singer. But John Travolta, now that I'm saying that, we should look that up.
No, I think it is.
Come with me.
We can save that for when we inevitably do Grease in review.
Grease 1. Grease. Here's what's going to be.
Watch Grease 2.
Here's what it should be.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm going to pitch you on this idea right now. Just you and me. We pitch him later. Grease 1, Grease 2, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 1, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and then the one where they go to the islands with the mom, Mamma Mia, because that's Grease.
What about number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't want to watch that.
Okay. Got it.
No,
Wait,
we can
did you watch
three,
it? Did you watch it?
Fine. If you make me watch that movie, we got to do all the Joe Dirts.
All the Joe Dirt.
How
Can
many
we just
are
do
there?
the one? There's 2, but just do the one and pretend the other one didn't happen.
Perfect. Done.
Is that what we need to do for Joe Dirt? Pretend the second didn't happen? I'm a big Joe Dirt fan.
I didn't know. I had no clue that there was more than one Joe Dirt.
Yeah, they shot it on like a cannon. The second one. They didn't put a lot of money
how
behind
dare
it.
you? I understand the through line to get to Mamma Mia in review, and I appreciate that you
Thank you.
included it. Though I think it should be broken out into its own special thing. Because there are a lot of fun facts.
We'll see whatever Tim wants to do. Pierce
Nick,
Brosnan
real
is
quick.
GOAT.
This weekend, though, I did watch Mamma Mia 3.
Yeah.
Or not
No,
Mamma
there
Mia.
isn't a 3.
Sorry. I meant my Big Fat
Kevin,
Greek...
do you have a Mama 3 and you didn't tell me?
That'd be incredible.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3?
Yeah.
And it's very good.
Wow.
Dee watched it. I watched she watched it without me. So it's a point of contention in our house.
So Nick automatically hates
Okay,
it.
yeah, so it's pain.
So it's pain.
Damn.
You know, I do know that Joey Fatoni's back, which is great.
He sure is.
Oh, I do too, Nick. Do you know how I know?
How's that?
Kevin, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can right now, live on this show, can you pull up google.com? All right?
Google.
I want the world to see this we all see it together. Okay? I want you to pull up Google.
Yep.
Okay.
Pull it up.
No, we want to see it. Yeah.
And I want to type in Tim Geddes.
Yep.
Tim Geddes young is so.
Yep, that's what happens when you search for Tim Geddes.
Good job, Reddit.
Oh my God.
How did we never put this together? How did we never see it? The entire time Tim's been Joey Fatoni, and Joey Fatoni has in fact been Tim.
This is so fucking funny.
This is incredible.
I'm sorry. This is going to get clipped out and Cool Greg's going to have to edit that, but
That's
this is
the
so
one.
funny.
I'm gonna need somebody to make like a portrait of us, but like Mike Shinoda with Joey Fatoni. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what
Every
you mean.
bearded guy ever.
Yeah, no, they're just gonna make me as some old guy.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be good.
No, you're always going to be, what's his name? The
Which
guy-
one?
The album cover.
Kenny Loggins.
It's always
Okay,
it's either
I'll
Kenny
take
Loggins
it.
or Charles Manson.
Okay,
really
well, you know, in that regard, I'll take Kenny Loggins, if that's okay. Wonka tells them all the river's made of pure chocolate, which is mixed by waterfall. It's the best way to mix chocolate.
right.
Charlie spots some of Wonka's workers, the Oompa Loompas, orange skin, green hair. They're from Oompa Land. And of course, Veruca Salt immediately wants an Oompa Loompa now. I want Oompa Loompa now, Daddy. Always the line I like to say from this.
The cadence of her voice is so interesting because I feel like that is one of those things that has permeated culture.
Totally.
She's perfect. The young actress that played this, I think, was like 13 years old and was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Steals every scene she's in. Augustus gets caught drinking straight from the chocolate lake, and Wonka's like, "Dude, you're contaminating the lake." And then his mom's like, and then he falls in. His mom's like, "Help him!" And he's like, "Help! Police! Murder!" He just could not give a shit about his kids. Finally, the pressure. Augustus gets sucked into the pipe. The pressure builds up so much. Boom! He gets shot up. And his mom's like, "They're gonna turn him into a marshmallow." And he goes, "My dear lady, that just isn't possible." She goes, "Why?" He goes, "Because that tube doesn't go to the marshmallow room. That tube goes to the fudge room." And of course, it's a callback, I think, to when Augustus said fudge earlier in the movie. which is
It's
hilarious.
so good. Like,
That's so good. Number one ticket down. Do they actually go in order of the tickets they got? They do.
Mike
don't
TV's the
they?
last.
Yeah, Mike
fourth.
TV's the last. That's crazy. Finally, let's see. Then we get the first Oompa Loompa song, Oompa Doompa Doompa Doo. This kid sucks, and so do you.
dude, real talk. I said this already, but like this scene was so formative to my life. And I didn't realize it till watching this, but thinking back through time, I was like, the font changes, the way that like the screen moves around. I'm like, they went there, and they didn't need to because it's so. This movie's weird, but like the Oompa Loompa stuff is extra weird.
It's not filmed in any of like similarly to any other parts of the movie. It's its
Yeah.
own like music video.
And there's like choreography to
Yeah.
all of it, and like especially the Mike TV one where there's like
They're, like, in
crossover
and out.
sections going on. I'm like, what is going on? It's awesome. Though.
Awesome.
Can you get me a Diet Coke when you come back?
Can you bring me the Coke Zero? A lot of words that needed to not be in that. They of course are singing a cautionary tale that says, if you're not greedy, you will go far. You will live in happiness too, like the Oompa Loompa Doombadies do.
And what's funny is that's the only version of it that I remembered.
Yep.
Because the other ones always have a different timing with lyrics and stuff and different rhythms. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Everyone boards the Wonka boat, and we begin the portion of this movie that used to scare the ever-loving shit out of me
Oh,
while I was a
yeah.
child.
It's,
And I
this
think-
is up there with when E.T. gets sick and it has the whole tent around him, and it's just like, oh, I don't like
Yeah.
this at all.
It's this sequence for me, and it's the sequence where
Large
Tommy
Mark.
Pickles is sick in Rugrats and is like hallucinating.
I don't
He has
remember
like a
that one.
fever, and he's like, the baby turns into a giant fucking creature. Like,
Oh, yeah, that one's bad.
He's just sick, and he's having a trip, and it's like these are the scenes as a kid that I would try to avoid because they were so freaky.
This scene obviously is like an acid trip, right? They're sitting there. We're seeing imagery projected behind them of like centipedes crawling on people's faces. I think at one point a chicken gets exploded. Oh, and that's psychotic enough.
Mhm.
Everyone on the boat's like, Wonka, let me off this fucking boat.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but get me off this boat, right? And then Wonka stares at one of the kids and says the following thing: "There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going, There's no knowing where we're rowing or which way the river's flowing. It is raining. Is it snowing? Is it a hurricane? And he just starts getting so loud to the point where by the end of it, he says, for the rowers, keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing. And then he screams in their faces.
For there is no way of knowing which way we are going. Like, it's like, what this guy literally, what is happening?
The subtitles just say, ah! And then it just stops.
Yeah.
It
God
just stops,
damn.
and we're done.
Centipedes crawling out of people's mouths. You got bodies decomposing. You got footage from Tiananmen Square.
Thank you.
Like what? Everything is terrifying, man.
Dude,
This should not be seen by kids.
Can you imagine being a studio executive now and seeing that and being like, no.
Absolutely not.
Sorry. You know how many calls we're going to get from parents on this one? God, it'd be like that time. What was that movie, the kids' movie where they had to watch the Jigsaw trailer at the beginning of it by accident?
Yeah.
Paw Patrol.
Yeah. Of course, we have arrived at the inventing room. Wonka reminds everyone not to touch, eat, or say, most importantly, of anything about this room. Old Slugworth will give his left testy for 5 minutes in here. That's my quote, not his. Mike eats.
I was like, yeah, that's probably is what he said in this movie.
Mike eats exploding candy, which is for your enemies. Wonka puts.
Still too weak.
I know. That's my favorite part is like he gets launched across the room, but it's not enough.
Then Wonka puts some old cleats in a vat of something else to give it more kick. And then something's a little too cold, so he puts a wool coat in it to warm it up. Love all the stuff.
This movie truly is, and I know that the term existed before them, but like the definition of whimsical.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
like the crossover of literal and metaphorical and all of this stuff coming together in this perfect
And that's
combination.
sort of the issue that a lot of like film Twitter is having with Chalamet is like everybody's like he just doesn't. I don't get whimsy when I see Chalamet.
That's so weird because I only see that when I see him.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not familiar with him enough to like really have a thought on him. Like he was in Lady Bird. He was in Dune.
Like I think the biggest crime.
French.
I think the biggest crime to Hollywood is that like whenever this movie did get redone with Depp, that it wasn't Jim Carrey. Like that is like
100%.
I think the number one casting that could have happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Carrie, if he had played it a little bit more subdued, would have nailed this.
Yeah,
Or
because he
would've
could have been
played it
very
bonkers.
demented and weird.
I mean, I haven't seen the 2005 one. I think that's the year it
I
came
saw
out.
it once and I have not seen it since.
And like, I know Johnny Depp is a complicated person to talk about, but like a 2005 Johnny Depp playing Willy Wonka, like I can't think of much more perfect casting. Jim Carrey, yes, but
Everyone, clip that out because I want to revisit what you just said after we watch this movie next week.
But I see-
I'm not ascribing a value to it. I just want
yeah,
you to remember you said that.
yeah.
Because, Tim, you're not wrong in assuming that. You're
Yeah.
not wrong in thinking that. I'm talking, this is still Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
This is
still
Alice in
Edward
Wonderland?
Scissorhands, Johnny
Yeah.
Depp. Well, we don't talk about Alice in Wonderland.
But in
Which
terms
I also
of,
never saw.
Oh. Yeah.
This is the Alice in Wonderland was the first moment where I was like, we're really relying on
Stepped
CG
out.
in these movies. We've lost some of the magic from some of the original movies, but we don't need to talk about that. Anyway, you would not be wrong in assuming that. That's what all of us thought. We'll see if that shakes
We'll
out
see.
that way.
We'll
But we're not
see.
there yet, everyone. We're still in the inventing room.
In another time period, if this would have gotten rebooted, I think it also would have been Neil Patrick Harris. Because
Oh yeah.
the musical stuff plus when he was in the
I've just seen him with
Lemony
a-
Snicket stuff.
I've seen him with a top hat.
I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
it feels very.
Yeah, I see him in a top hat.
I've seen him with a top hat. It's like, yeah, sure,
That's-
absolutely.
Is that all? So can you see like Mr. Peanut as Willy Wonka or
Baby Peanut.
Yes.
Baby Peanut.
What movie was I just watching? This is like like this role would be great for like a John Hamm. Person who like is a serious actor, but we're like, you should do comedy because you're actually a comedic actor. And
He
just watch
does.
this. That's why he's perfect.
It's weird. Whenever I
But
see,
what were we just watching where I said that about a female actress? So I was like, you're actually a comedian, but you only usually do. I'll think about that in a second.
Hmm.
Keep
There's
thinking
always
about
those low key actors that you're like, oh, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, we were
Oh.
just talking about
No
no
we were
hard
just
feelings.
talking about, yeah. And I was like, dude,
that fight scene?
Not
everything she does in that movie is
Have you seen this?
hilarious.
No.
No hard feelings.
If I
You
did-
I know it's
need-
awesome.
You need to watch it.
It's pretty funny. But Jennifer Lawrence is one of those actors where you're like, you're such a good actor that when you dip your toe into comedy, you just crush it.
Yeah.
Just crush it. Same with John Hamm. Anyway, we've
Well,
answered on this.
in that,
Thank God.
I do want to mention a couple moments where we see Gene Wilder. All I see is a homeboy from The Bear.
Oh, he
Oh,
does
yeah.
look a lot like that
Holy
guy.
shit.
They have the same sort of like.
Whoa, that
Yeah.
just broke
Jeremy
me.
Allen White.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the eyes.
What's crazy
And
if you
hair.
Google Gene Wilder shirtless?
I think they have like
Looks
similar
exactly
kind
the
of nose
same.
and mouth. Like
I mean, they could be like.
Have you
if
seen him
Gene Wilder
shirtless?
was his dad? I would not be surprised.
Have you seen Jeremy Allen White shirtless in the last couple months?
oh my god. I mean, yeah, that dude was like ripped and freaking
the-
shameless.
You just pull it up for science, Kev, if you want.
For science?
Rolling Stone
For science
article, I
purposes
think
only?
it was.
Andy, this is what I keep saying about us. Okay, we got to get ourselves into one of these wrestling movies where they pay us to work out and then we compete with each other to see who can get the biggest lats. You know what I mean? That's it right there. Look
That's
how
the guy from
good
The Bear.
Jeremy. What's his name? Jeremy Allen.
Jeremy Allen White.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
We're long in the tooth on this. Of course, he's like, listen, I want to show you guys this newest one, but you guys have to solemnly swear. This is it. This is the machine beyond all machines. This is the thing that's going to revolutionize the world. You have to solemnly swear you will never tell a soul about this, and you will never give it to another living soul. And then, of course, Veruca does, but she crosses her fingers, and they all get one everlasting gobstopper.
One of my favorite things, the dumb little subtle things, but like he looks and he just mouths everlasting. It's so funny. Like Gene goddamn Wilder, man.
Goddamn Wilder. Now, I don't know what it is about the design of this candy, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's the wonky shape. It's the colors.
It looks like the toys that you would.
Jesus Christ.
It looks like the toys that you would drop on the ground. They would vibrate and bounce around everywhere because it's
Yeah.
kind of like. And I love him mentioning just like, yeah, it's for kids who don't have a lot of money. They can just, this candy lasts forever.
Lasts
Suck
forever.
on this candy, you'll never lose flavor. I was like, wow, that's cool.
It's cool.
You're thinking, Wonka.
Yeah.
Yeah, a non
This guy's woke, dude. This guy's
money
based.
based. Yeah,
Willy Wonka.
Yeah, this guy's based, dude.
woke.
Beyond that, there's one more machine left to look at, and it is the machine that makes gum. And of course, this speaks right to Violet Beauregard's heart. She snatches that gum out of his hand. This gum looks real good too, because it's a big old piece of it, right? And he's like, "Don't do that. It's not tested yet." No, he says, "Stop, don't." As she, of course, is smashing the gum into her mouth. This always blew my brain apart. I was like, "Wait, there's a gum that can be." It's like, what is it? A chicken dinner at first, a chicken pot pie, then tomato soup, then chicken. And she goes, "Oh my God, now on to the dessert." And of course, he's like, "We always have problems with the dessert. They always turn into blueberries." And of course, she starts turning into a blueberry. And I think they did a lot of this with a mixture of makeup, but then lighting.
It's all lighting because
It's
you can
all-
see it on
yeah.
her hair too.
Yeah, so it's purple lighting on her hair, but then she's still backlit by, a nice neutral colored light like Tim's backlit right now. So it's really cool. They just kind of like brought up the light on her, which is just the effect just works. And of course, later we cut and she's painted and she's just,
I mean,
the ball.
My favorite thing is the effect is so strong. It's
There you
light
go.
up.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Good job, Kev. It's so like beautifully done. And then you see her kind of roll over and the Oompa Loompas come out. And then it's just a doll attached to this big ball.
It's not.
What is it?
I thought it was. I thought it was a doll too. I was like, man, that looks so fake. And then the doll blinked.
No.
I think it's a stunt person.
No fucking way.
I swear to
refuse
God.
to believe
maybe
that.
it just the doll just had fake eyes, but at one point the doll
They have
blinks and,
those
like, looks around a little
blinking
bit.
dolls.
It could have been that.
No, I mean, I watched this shit in fucking 4K, and I was looking at it. I swear to God, it was just a big ass ball with.
I mean, that would have been smarter because it's very dangerous to have the actress there, but I could have swore I saw her blink at one point.
Oh,
I'll pull up that scene
so
later
funny.
afterwards.
I also wanted to call out just my general concern with the biology of Oompa Loompas in the way that
Okay, where are we going?
the clothing that they're given, I always as a kid just thought like, oh, their thighs just jut out like that.
Yeah.
Like,
No, they're fishing waders, right? So they
Ye-
can jump in the chocolate pool or the chocolate stream. I
but
assume?
it's like I always just thought like, oh, well, they're shaped that way because their bone structure and their meat probably like their
Don't
skin.
talk about the Oompa Loompas.
You know what I
meat,
mean?
Andy.
Because at the thighs they go out to the side with
I
their
don't
clothing.
actually know what you're talking about.
But I never
They
thought
have,
that was
like,
their body. I thought that
they
was
have,
just
like-
the outfit.
I think it is just the outfit, but like I'm kind of having like the Groot thing
Yeah,
in Guardians of the
yeah.
Galaxy. It was like, well, your hat, you have a normal sized head. Why are you wearing a hat like that or whatever?
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like I always just thought that they had like their legs were just kind of shaped that way because of what the clothing was doing. But the clothing's that's just for fun.
Oh, I see what you're talking like this.
Yeah, and they would walk around and it would.
Do you
I
do
think
you
it's just the
follow?
clothes.
I think
That's got to be bone there, you know?
No,
like
I-
in my mind. In my
Damn, that's-
mind.
Because it hits on everybody differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey,
Wow.
everybody buys different, Joe. You know, In my mind, that's where their bones are. They have bones that stick out of their thigh.
Hip height, and some are like their knees.
Joey, everybody's different, Joe.
Do you follow
melting pot?
I think it's on Instagram. It's Nothing's Happening Here, or something like that. The guy that draws, but he does that where it's like it'll be like Chewbacca or like Darth Vader taking the helmet or like the costume off, and his body's the shape of whatever it was.
Oh,
it's really
cool.
I've seen Samus do it. People debated about where Samus's body goes in the suit, and you're like, this doesn't add up. There's poses
how are
of her.
Shoulders
it's
over
like,
there?
how is this happening?
Like, yeah, I forgot which one it was, but there's one where it's like Chewbacca like unzipping his. Yeah, this is okay. Let's take a look at this actually.
Yeah,
that's definitely just their clothes.
That's her in there.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Obviously.
a person.
I mean, obviously, that's just their clothes, but maybe they've
the
got.
light stuff is so cool.
See, look, she's
That's
blinking.
a person.
Oh shit! No, yeah.
Maybe it's just a
Look,
doll
so far it's a
blinking.
person, but then we get here.
Wait for it.
It's just a doll.
Wait
dude.
for it.
Oh yeah,
That's a fucking doll.
Her,
Right? You got slow mo it here.
No, that's a person.
That's a
Slow mo.
person,
Just
bro.
can we frame by frame it?
We can't frame by frame. It says
Okay.
max.
At one point she blinks right. Look,
Wait, yeah,
eyes are
watch her
closed.
eyes.
Eyes are closed.
That's definitely a person.
Oh yeah, she just opened
Eyes
her
are
eyes.
keep
and
it. Play it. Play it. Yeah.
Oh
blink.
yeah, she looked. Yeah.
No way, dude. Look at the hand. That hand's not moving
Well, the
at
hand's
all.
probably fake.
That
The hand's
may not-
Oh wait,
Yeah,
that's
they-
not her hand.
No,
You're right.
that-
fair point,
Yeah.
guys. Fair point.
Yeah, there's a good chance like the rest of it isn't her, but
The hand's going the wrong way.
No, the hand just moved. That bottom hand just moved.
oh, we
look,
can't
it's
do
just
that.
flicking you off, Tim.
There's at least 5 people in this ball right now.
Very.
I mean, the eyes were open at one point and closed at another point. So something's happening with this doll. We'll get to the bottom of it after work. But we're going to keep going. Of course, it's not air, it's juice. They take her to the juicing room to be de-squeezed. And then we go over to the lickable walls where he's like, the strawberries taste like strawberries. And then the snozberries taste like snozberries. And I love this line because of
Super Troopers.
Super Bad. Oh, no, it was Super Troopers. You're right.
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
A moment that changed me and Kevin's life. We stayed, watched a bunch of movies back to back in the theater. We were like 10 years old.
That was like
shouldn't
a record day.
have been doing this. We walk in to watch Super Troopers, come in a couple minutes late. We didn't know how late we were.
We didn't know what movie it was.
Didn't even fucking know at all. We just walked in and was like, let's watch
So
the next
funny.
movie. And we didn't know if we were an hour in or like whatever. We were like 2 minutes in, but we start and it's the opening scene of them in the cop car, like doing donuts or shit with the high guy in the back. And he licks the fucking.
exactly what I'm thinking about.
He licks the thing. He goes, the snozberries taste like snozberries. And to this day, I've never laughed harder in my life. Like it was
That was
funniest
one of the
hilarious.
greatest experiences that I've ever had.
ever.
That is, in fact, the scene I was thinking about. Thank you. Let's see. Of course, this is where she's like, Snozberry. Who ever heard of a Snozberry? And then Wonka straight grabs her face by the mouth.
Oh, it's that guy.
It's so funny.
What is excellent?
What movie is that?
Super Troopers.
Super Troopers.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, Joe.
Okay.
One day, Broken Lizard in review.
I will be
How
going.
many
Tim, you don't
other
gotta call me for that
movies
one, Tim.
They did a lot.
Maybe like 5 or 6.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I think that they're more at 8 now, right?
Two
And
Super
the
Troopers,
last
the
one-
hotel one that was bad, the beer
Hotel
one that
one.
was fine.
It was a hotel one.
He sounded
resort.
like Club Dead.
Club
right?
Dread.
Club. Oh yeah, Club Dread.
This feels like
Beer
a Greg
Fest,
in
Beer
review
Fest,
more
and
than
then
a
the
Joey
Slime
in
Slime and
review.
Salmon, which was amazing.
The
At least
first
a moment
one, right?
was.
The indie film.
It was an indie wine.
Puddle.
Like if,
Yeah,
you,
Puddle
if you told me they
Cruisers.
did Balls of Fury, I'd believe it. It's one of those that like I think you have to grow up
Did
with
they
it to
do Beer
really
Fest?
vibe
I
with
really
it.
like that it sounds like you're talking shit about balls.
It also
Fury
feels
right
like if you're a fan of Kevin Smith movies, you'd be into these as well.
I feel like Broken Lizard is the Kevin Smith for the next like 10 years.
now. 1, 2, well, Tacoma FD is a series that doesn't count as a movie. We don't have to watch that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, good.
11,
You get to
it
watch
looks like.
the
Well,
Dukes of Hazzard, too.
A lot of those aren't
Well,
movies.
Nah, that's like a- that's
there's
a
bunch of
J.
mixed in here.
Yeah.
Sandra Haskar movie.
Dukes of Hazzard though, man. I'll never fucking forget watching Dukes of Hazzard.
Jessica Simpson.
Jessica Simpson and
Johnny Knoxville.
and Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott watching that movie in theaters, not knowing much about it except Dukes of Hazzard's an old 70s
Was
movie
it the
or
same
show,
day as
whatever. And I'll never fucking forget. There's a random ass scene that like in the beginning of it, it's like they go to some random dude's like house in the swamp, and it's Farva from Super Troopers, and I'm like, holy goddamn shit, it's Farber from Super Troopers. And then later in the movie, they end up at the college campus and like they get in a car and they start driving and then the fucking golf cart comes up. He's like, do you know how fast you were going? And it's the entire Super Troopers cast as in character as the Super Troopers. Blew my fucking
mixed universes
mind, man. But it's because one of them directed it. It was like a Casper Ghostbuster situation.
Jay's directed a lot of things, actually. That guy directed a lot of TV.
Jay's fucking great, dude.
It was just at Cobb's, actually. Like
yes, he was. I almost went.
Let's see. Where are we? Oh, this is my favorite part. That's when he grabs her by the mouth and says, "We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams." And at that point, I'd have been like, "We're leaving.
We need to go.
We're good.
Yeah.
We can't be a part of this anymore."
It is kind of surprising that her dad's not like, what the fuck?
And then he'd say, "Good luck getting out."
Yeah.
Shit, you're right. I don't
go through.
Because the next room, if
Yeah.
you drink anything, you're going to get destroyed by the giant spinning blade above you because this is the fizzy wizzy lifting drinks room, which this scene always terrified me too.
Oh yeah, it was the coolest thing ever until it's the scariest thing.
Until it's the scariest thing.
Again, beautiful design. Like
Beautiful.
We keep saying it's not a kids movie. It's a kid movie. This is a kids movie. Like to instill this much like wonder in kids and then this much fear in kids. Yeah, that's what kids need to know.
Yeah.
It's funny because I started thinking about like, well, how would I get around it? And I think it's because we did Saw before this. But like, if they just propped their hands on like the crossbar, wouldn't they be fine?
They look like they were totally safe, just touching like the gap.
They were, but I think the general fear was that they couldn't stay there forever. Like they didn't know how to get down. Because he was at one point he does stop himself, and he's just like, we can hold myself here for a while, but he's an old man.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that kind of upper arm strength for that long. I digress. They burp, they get themselves down.
Kevin's worst nightmare scene.
I'm surprised his whenever he walks, his bones just don't crumble into each other.
But also like the balls
Calcium deficiency
on Grandpa Joe and Charlie, specifically Grandpa Joe, for being like, hang back. There's only 4 more people in this group. They're not going to notice we're gone.
Yeah.
Let's drink some of this.
And
fun
everybody
shit.
else has been totally safe.
Yeah. Up until this point, we haven't seen 2 kids get murdered.
Yeah.
3 at this point. Sorry, 3 kids almost.
This seems like this was the first choice in the movie that I'm like, if I wrote this movie, I wouldn't have it go this way. Because it does feel a little bit weird for them to do this. And like they make up for it towards the end, but it's weird that they choose to, this late in the game, after seeing multiple kids potentially die, do this thing. I'm like, I don't know.
Never see these kids ever again. In the next room, Charlie and Grandpa Joe discover Wonka presenting his giant geese laying golden chocolate eggs, each of which is judged as either good or bad by the egg decatur. Veruca, of course, immediately wants one. I want a golden goose, and I want it now. Daddy, she sings the song that we all know. What's it called?
I want it now.
Thank you. I couldn't think. I want da 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 da. I want all this stuff.
And booses and
Goes around just destroying everything, and it's
Gooses and booses.
freaking great. Kills it. Of course, she jumps on the egg
Those are
decatur,
the
and
first
it.
lyrics to Toot It and Boot It.
Yeah, I love you. Like what you just did sounds like me singing to Moose at night, where I'm just like, I take his name and just add a bunch of things. Like the amount of times I've said Moose and Boost, it's like, what are you fucking saying?
Well, what was that? Did you remember that series? It was a thread a long time ago. It was like you start with your dog's name, and then where does it end up?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like Moose,
Crazy
Goose,
places.
Goose, Lamoose, and then like whatever. Anyway, she ends up getting. She's a bad egg, and she gets thrown out. Her dad chases after her, but not before he. She's like, he's like, where does that go to? He's like, well, the furnace, of course. He's like, the furnace. Jumps in after, and then Willie has a weird line where
The weirdest line. He finally got what he wanted. Veruca went first,
I think died first, I guess.
but like, huh?
I don't know.
What could that possibly mean?
Yeah. What do you know about their families?
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Oompas, of course, sing another song. Hey, don't be a spoiled brat. This is where we get some other stuff.
I like that you call them the Oompas as if they're like the Beatles.
I mean, they're iconic. You gotta say, the orange skin.
And this has got a little funky rhythm to it.
Yeah, this one's got a little.
This
stank
one's
on
got
it.
like a oompa loompa doopa dee doo. Yeah. They got like a different remix, and I'd be bummed out if I showed up. I was like, I haven't rehearsed this one, dude. I know the other one.
This
Yeah.
one. What's the cadence of this one? Behold the Wonka mobile. This thing is powered by everything with bubbles, all that crazy carbonated stuff. It tickles your nose. Mike TV asks his mom if Slugworth will pay extra for this. She says, keep your eyes open and your mouth shut.
Nick, earlier you said that the best line in this movie is, we are the music makers, we are the dreamers of dreams. And I would have agreed with you if they didn't say, if the good Lord had intended us to walk, he wouldn't have invented roller skates.
Another excellent one.
That's a great line. Wonka fires up
All
the
of
mobile.
these lines just sound like when you watch Will Ferrell do outtakes.
Yep.
Where he just improvs something and then goes off of that improv and then does something completely different and improv something, and it's like a million different
Fergie mixed with
versions of
Jesus.
It's the packs of wild dogs have invaded. You know that all the outtakes from Ricky Bobby, where he's like, if you don't chew big red gum, fuck you. Let's see. Wonka fires up the Wonka mobile and it starts spewing foam all over them. And then, of course, he takes them through Wonka Wash backwards. I can't pronounce it. To clean them. Fun little special effect here where it goes through it. You know, cool for back in the day.
So cool.
It's cool seeing the left side just being looped footage.
Yeah.
Because like the same shadows just moving all the time.
That's great.
They head into my favorite room of all, the all-white room like THX 1138, where Wonka unveils WonkaVision, a machine that beams chocolate from reality into someone's TV where they can reach in and take it. Cool little effect. Obviously, love seeing it, right? He reaches in and grabs it, but the felt that's holding it is not quite as dark as the background, so you can totally see it.
It's totally great. There's something so novel about it. The sound effects of this movie, this scene, are so embedded in my mind that, like, before it even came up, I started hearing the, like, machines moving and stuff. It's so cool.
Also, just, you know, not a huge budget. They're just wearing painters, like, overalls. The thing. And then the goggles are safety goggles that are so poorly done that the slits that are in them kind of are jaggedy with the paint.
It's great.
Like they masked them and sprayed and like painted them, and then when they pulled it off,
they look like minions at Times Square.
Yeah. Mike, of course, immediately is like, I want to be the first kid to ever get beamed through TV over here, and he does it. And he fires it up and he gets beamed. And he's still a tiny guy, and his mom puts it in his purse, and he's like, and then the Oompa Loompas sing again, and this is where we get all the cool.
I love the
TV
special effects though of, you know, Mike being comped in as super tiny, shrunken down. And then they were like, what if we could do the other special effect where we project a big film version of his mom behind, like of him looking at a screen, and that's her big face. Like, so novel and hilarious for the time.
The little Mike
worked
great.
Yeah.
Because they just made a big set with him climbing down, which is rad.
Yeah.
When they do the reverse doesn't quite work out. Not quite great. But similar to how there's a couple moments in the Charlie and the dad going up, or Uncle Grandpa Joe going up, where you can see through them because the green screen wasn't that great.
Yeah,
I mean, you also see all the wires on
all
the
that
spinning.
Wonka shows Charlie and the door. He says, "Hey man, it's been a great time. See you later." And then he goes into his office. And Grandpa Joe's like, "Wait a minute!" And so they go into the office too, and of course we see everything is split in half.
It's so good. Again, we talked about this, but like the production design of this room is so cool. But even the door has like Willy Wonka, president, vice president, chairman. Like it just has a list of his titles, and it's like all of the titles. Like there's something very weird about it, but like they designed that door just for this one scene. Like it's so cool.
Of course, Grandpa Joe's like, "Hold on, let me go ask him." They go in and he asks him, he's like, "Hey, what about the lifetime supply of chocolate?" And Wonka absolutely loses his shit on them because they broke the rules of the contract they signed at the beginning. They stole is what he says, fizzy lifting drinks, bumped into the ceiling that now has to be washed and sterilized, and so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. And a fun piece of trivia here, I don't know if you have this or not, Tim, but Charlie and Grandpa Joe had no idea he was going to get that level of emotion with him. This was the first take, and the director was like, "Don't tell him what you're going to do." So the reactions are real, where they're like, "Oh fuck! Like we didn't know you were going to go that hard on us."
That's cool.
Of course, after that, Charlie he begs Charlie for forgiveness, and sorry. Before leaving, of course, this is the best part of the movie. Charlie walks out, thinks for 1 second, reaches into his pocket, puts the everlasting gobstopper back on Willy Wonka's desk because he's like, "I don't want any part of this. It's yours. Good day, sir." And that's when everything flips. Wonka's demeanor totally changes. He's very, very happy. He's overjoyed, in fact, and he begs Charlie for forgiveness. He's like, "You did it. You won. Do you have any idea what's going on?" Introduces Mr. Wilkinson, who's Slugworth, but not Slugworth. It's an actor that he's paying to be this person. He's like, "This whole thing was a test. You've won." And he goes, "What did I win?" He goes, "Well, you've won the chocolate factory. Like, I'm giving you this whole thing."
I expected Slugworth to be like, this isn't Slugworth, this is Mr. Wilkinson. And like, he like zips down from his top and he's just like a big bug or something. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. Like, that would have not been totally out of place.
We get
from Men in Black.
Yeah.
We get a callback to an earlier line where he says, "We have so much time and so little to do. Strike that, reverse it." They go over to the Wonkavator, and it's at this point that I realize where Tim got his naming convention for everything we do here, where we just put KindaFunny in front of everything.
Yeah.
They just put Wonka in front of
It's
everything.
great, dude.
Only-
It goes slant ways and back ways and up ways, and it's so
But I've never
freaking
hit
good.
that button.
That one button, of course,
my
they hit
Lord.
it. And what does it do? It launches them into the sky, where they get to a bird's eye view of their little town, and everything's great.
And it's crazy, like, for the 10th time this episode, pop culture defined. Like, is this the moment that everyone was like, I can see my house from here? I think it was, you know, like just them being up and like seeing the town and
Yeah.
stuff. Like when we, like anytime we're up in the air, like that's one of our first thoughts. I just think that's so cool that like this was the origin story of like core, like vocabulary.
Phrases,
that people
yeah.
have.
Yeah, like where were they going?
The sequel, The Glass Elevator. And I have no idea what happens in it.
Does the whole thing just take place in the glass elevator?
I don't know. I have no idea. I never, for the longest time, I was like, I really want to know how this story continues, and I never bothered reading it.
I never wanted to read it because it just felt like I'm into this series because of the chocolate factory. Like I don't like what's the
The
glass?
glass elevator.
Where-
I don't
where
like
is
glass.
that?
I don't like elevators.
Yeah, where's this gonna go?
So
you
I'll,
know?
read,
You
I'll,
think
I'll read the
that?
synopsis of this real quick, just so we have it, because I mean, maybe they'll make a movie out of this.
Wait, I have it pulled up here. Here we go.
There you go. Can you zoom in on that a little bit there, big dude?
And we may end up
Oh,
covering it up.
1972.
Yeah, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator is a children's book by British author Roald Dahl. It is a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, continuing the story of young Charlie Bucket and the chocolatier Willy Wonka as they travel in the Great Glass Elevator.
That's all we need to know.
That's all we get.
That's all
So
we
it
need.
is all in the elevator.
I just thought it was funny. How
Although the
great-
original book has enjoyed several screen adaptations, The Great Glass Elevator has never been adapted for a visual medium. However, it was adapted for audio by Puffin Audiobooks. Maybe I'll listen to it. Who knows? It's got a great cover for the book. Maybe I'll read it.
But it just felt like too much of a far cry from what I was getting in the original story.
Yeah.
I'm like, so
It's
you're-
like Grease, where it's like, what do you mean they just flew into the sky? Like,
yeah.
what are they doing now? Do they come back? Or are they just going somewhere else?
Of course, this is the final scene where he says, "How did you like the Chocolate Factory?" And
Just
Charlie
shows them
says,
frozen in space.
"They starved to death up
Going
there. They could never get
past
down.
ludicrous.
They just had to burp the entire time. They would have come down." I think it's the most wonderful place in the whole world, and Wonka says, "I'm very pleased to hear that because I'm giving it to you. I can't go on forever, and I really don't want to try. So, who can I trust to run this factory and take care of the Oompa Loompas?" For me, not a grown-up. A grown-up would want to do everything his own way and not mine. That's why I need a very honest, loving child to whom I can tell all of my most precious candy secrets. The factory is yours, Charlie. You can move in immediately, you and the whole family. And Grandpa Joe's like, "Fuck yes, scored."
What
don't forget-
happens to someone who got everything they ever wanted? They lived happily ever after. And there's something about that as a punctuation to a kid's movie is beautiful and inspiring. There's something about watching that as an adult that I'm like, this feels sinister.
Yeah.
I don't like this. It doesn't feel right. You know? And maybe that's a personal read, but it's like
I don't think
something
you're
about
off.
the way this movie ended. I was like, ooh.
Also, reading a little bit more, like, so they take the elevator to their synopsis of the next movie or the next story. Like they take the elevator to his house. He gets his whole family, and they take the elevator back to the chocolate factory, but it misfires and shoots them into space.
This sounds awesome.
That's where I stopped reading.
I want to read this.
Magic
because
school bus type shit.
This sounds wacky, man, and I'm into it.
Yeah. I didn't know what Grandma Josephine's up to. You know what I mean? Like, damn.
Major character in the next.
Well, now we got to get to a thing I like to call.
This is the part for RaGuWonku.
Ragu Bagu. Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, for sure, Wonka is the bad guy.
yeah.
100%. He is the one
Who's
that's
the
setting
best
all,
bad guy? Who's the best Wonka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I
we'll
don't-
do, yeah. Who is the best
Well,
Wonka?
yeah, should we just do Wonku Bagu?
we'll do
Rank
Wonka
the
Bagu.
Wonkas, not RaGuWonku.
Yeah, love that.
If you
Wonka
want
Bagu. No, it'd be Ragu.
Wonku.
Ugu?
Ragu Wonku.
Bad guys talking Wonka guy.
Ragu
Gene Wilder,
Wonku.
#1, obviously. We'll see if Timothée Chalamet or Johnny Depp can dethrone him, but I doubt it, sincerely.
Yeah. Now it's time to rank the Willy Wonka movies. Currently, number 1 is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Will it be dethroned? I highly doubt it. But yeah, this is a classic, and it really stands up as a classic. I'm very happy we watched it. I'm happy y'all watched it and watched along with us, or didn't and just heard this. I had a great time doing this episode. It was a lot of fun. We're gonna do Charlie.
So fascinated with it.
Yeah,
for the next one.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I've never seen, next week, and then Wonka coming up after that. So everybody, stay tuned. We're wonking it up.
Come with Andy and you'll see there's a bunch of mini Andys.